Well, good evening, everybody. I tell you what, it never gets any better than this, does it? Incredible. We're back. Premier Sim Gaming Leagues, folks. PSGL returns tonight, and we're going to Paul Ricard, the south of France. Looking forward to this one. Le Castellet, of course, is delivered on many an occasion. A great race, certainly here at PSGL and in the world of esports generally. My name is, of course, George Morgan, back on your screens. Joining me, once again, is the Irishman, Jack Canat. Jack, how are you, sir? Welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, nice to be back once again. I mean, this is round 8. We're 8 rounds in already, which is amazing. And yeah, we're back at France. So let's see how this track will shape us up this evening. We've had some great moments over the years over here at Paul Ricard. So excited to see what memories can be brought this evening. So very excited. Championship battle. It's got a bit of a runaway leader at the moment, but as we've seen before, one round can switch it all.
It certainly can, and it has to be said that we're going to be looking forward to this one because Ronhar, of course, came off the back of that last race, clinching the title. Well, not clinching the title, but clinching the top spot in the title charge. Of course, there's a lot of drama, isn't there? A lot of drama at the moment. It's like the elephant in the room at this point. And obviously, there's a huge onslaught fight between that of Jarno Wotmir and Thomas Ronhar. Not to mention as well the various other competitors that we have here live tonight. And let's go through some of the names, Jack, because obviously we've got some changes to the grid order. Obviously, Jake Benham coming in with Jarno Wotmir as standard. Red Bull once again going with Otis Lawrence, and Liam Parnell steps in this time. Joost Noordijk returns. Barry Burremand alongside him at Ferrari. Wilson Hughes, and the return, Jack Canat, of Danny Moreno. He's back here at McLaren. How about that?
Yeah, that might just raise a few eyebrows, won't it? As we always say in PSGL, if a driver comes back and chooses a particular car, it's probably not a coincidence.
No.
Danny Moreno back on the grid. It's great to have him back. We're so used to seeing in those Mercedes colours, but he's in at McLaren this week, and obviously no deals done yet, nothing announced officially, but obviously we do know there is a free McLaren seat in F1 Esports, and to me, and I think to you as well, George, that's a move that makes sense.
It is a move that makes sense, and there is a lot of history with Danny Moreno and of course McLaren, and returning to the league racing scene. And now this is a man who certainly is competitive. He was Rookie of the Year in his debut season of F1 Esports, and not to mention very successful partnering Jarno Wotmir as well. He's a great signing for any team, really, Jack.
He is, and it'd be great to see him. Obviously, we're heading into a new game very, very soon. So, I mean, we know this game hasn't been the best for Danny Moreno. So, maybe new team, new game, a revitalized Danny Moreno could be a danger, definitely, for the future. But great to have him back on the grid. Of course, when we had him and Jarno and all those guys fighting each other out for titles. I mean, who could forget the headset smash, Danny Moreno and Jarno Wotmir? That was between those two, and that lives on in our PSGL. But it's wonderful to have him back on the grid as always. Obviously, we're in Q1 at the moment. No drivers are out on the track at the moment, but just to keep you all updated, of course, after last week, if you missed it, where the hell were you? It was probably
absolutely incredible. Best race of the season, I think we called it, Jack. I mean, obviously, it's up there with USA. I think in terms of a driver's performance, USA stands out as a great drive for Jarno Wotmir. But I think in terms of racing as a whole, I think Spa was probably the best one we've had.
I think it was the best one for just kind of just craziness. I thought Jarno Wotmir was brilliant from a driving perspective, as you said, but for sheer action, it was Spa hands down. Istvan Pukki taking his first ever win. What a week he had! two top tier wins in a single week for Istvan Pukki, and both of them debut wins. So it was great to see him come out on top there. Cameron Dowd's debut podium from the back of the grid. I mean, you can't really write it, can you, in that way? But for those of you that did miss it, of course, we had Barry Burremand finishing second, but he did get a penalty for that incident with himself and Thomas Ronhar. The stewards deemed that was primarily the fault of Barry Borman, so he ended up dropping down to, I think, 8th or 9th in the classification. And as well, Jarno Watmere also picked up a penalty for the contact between himself and Ronar in the final corner, I think it was. So there were 2 penalties handed out in that race between those two. So how that leaves the championship now is that it is Ronar in front by 23 points. Watmere now in second, although he's moved up in front of Barry Borman in that fight as well. So there is obviously controversy off the back of that. Of course, some drivers weren't happy, or I think Barry in particular wasn't too happy with his penalty. But then again, you know, it was a tough one to judge, even from our perspective.
Yeah, I think so. Very, very difficult set of circumstances, obviously heading into the latter part of this season. And we'll obviously have to wait and see how it develops. Obviously, Ronhaar currently topping the championship with Jarno Watmere just in behind. If we go through, again, some of the names, because we didn't complete the list. Obviously, Danny Moreno, as I said, stepping in on his return in the McLaren. We have, of course, got Luke Smith and Dylan Warren back at Alpine. AlphaTauri have gone with Istvan Pukki and Philip Prejnader. Aston Martin have gone with Fabrizio Donoso and Max Wiesel, who marks his return yet again. Williams have got Will Lewis back in the car, obviously a new signing for Brett Koch at the Williams esports team. Alvaro Caraton, also Williams driver, as he has been for so many years, joining him on the grid too. Alfa Romeo also fielding Danny Berejne and, of course, Jack West too, with Thomas Ronhaar at Haas, and Ishmael Fassi also marks his return, and he is a tremendous competitor, Jack. We've had many a great race with Ishmael Fassi, obviously one of the great overtakers of the game, obviously, that we saw certainly at the special event at Singapore, where he made that inside slip and made such a dynamic move that took us all by surprise. It was a double overtake as well at the same time, heading through Sector 3, and he is not without a chance here. Tremendous pace, has the ability. Can he deliver?
Well, let's wait and see, because he hasn't quite been able to do it so far this season. So we'd hope to see the true potential of Ishmael Fassi. We've seen it before, but hasn't quite been able to convert it. So let's see if France can finally deliver from that perspective. But as we said, Istvan Pukki's back on the grid this evening. He's in AlphaTauri, and off the back of that shock win, but again at the same time, ended up in the position he was through the strategy that he himself and his engineers would have worked out, but as well had the pace to pull away and hold on to the lead. It wasn't a case that he was sort of struggling up there. He drove away out the front and did an incredible job out of there. The one I think I felt almost incredibly sorry for was Philip Prejnader, who was right up there fighting for a podium on the softs, and then I think it was about 3 corners from the end, tyres ran out of grip, round he went, and Philip Prejnader's luck just doesn't seem to be quite getting there. It was 3 corners away from working out last week, but surely now something's got to work for Philip Prejnader.
You have to wonder. He's back though, and out on track right now. Actually, the only car that's occupying tarmac here at Le Castellet. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see what Philip Prejnader can offer. Of course, here at Paul Ricard right now, GT World Challenge testing is going on right now, including that of the International GT Open as well. Certain teams like obviously the Optimum Motorsport McLaren are testing their 720S GT3s at the moment, ready for the new season. We'll look forward to seeing them later on, of course, in the year. And of course, this track nestled in the Côte d'Azur region of southeast France, a panoramic view overlooking the southern France vineyards in the northwest of Toulon. A wonderful track. Lots of overtaking opportunities. 2 DRS straights, of course, one down the home straight and leading your way in towards turn 1 and turn 2, and then another one heading down Mistral straight leading into the chicane, that coming out of turn 7 at the Saint-Baume corner, heading in towards turn 8 and 9, which then you'll venture into the Mistral chicane, which will then later lead to turn 10 at Sydney corner and into sector 3. So plenty of options, certainly for drivers to utilise overtaking, while Paul Ricard isn't necessarily branded as an instant classic in terms of modern Formula 1 in real life. On the game, Jack, it seems to offer a little bit of spice.
It does, and you know, when I hear Paul Ricard mentioned in F1, it doesn't exactly excite me at all, to be honest. It's actually a circuit that is probably down the bottom of what I would consider my favourite tracks. But in F1, on the game, it's always produced something something mental, always side by sides, and I think we like last lap battles all the way up. So I'm interested to see how it delivers this evening. But you know, in real life F1, it hasn't really delivered in that regard. But when we think about PSGL or any other leagues like that, races have come down, in races for the podiums, have come down to the final corner right here in Paul Ricard with that 90-degree right-hander at the very end. That has happened before, and we'll wait to see if it happens this evening. But drivers leaving it and not going out for those early runs. I think Philip Preschneider is the only man who's out on the track at the moment. He's actually invalidated his run, so he's going to have to come back in again. But it's been very quiet out on the circuit, and Philip Preschneider is thankfully keeping us all entertained, if nothing else.
Well, it's a job to. It's quite bizarre, really, when you think about it. We're so used to seeing the intermediate tyres out extremely early on, and we haven't seen them at all so far this session. But now cars are finally venturing out. Luke Smith, of course, part of the Alpine team, making his way out onto the track. Philip Preschneider now right in behind him. Obviously, he doesn't want to really be stuck behind Luke Smith at this point, Philip Preschneider, because this is his third lap on this set of tyres. So really, if you want to, lay down a banker, it needs to be now, if ever, really, Jack.
Yeah, it is. And when we talk about Philip Preschneider, there was something quite amusing that was, I think it was about a week or two ago. He only figured out that he needed glasses to actually see where he was going recently on the track, and has figured out, has been amazed at how everything is no longer blurry on his screen so maybe that.
So he can see now. Is that what you're saying?
He can actually see where he's going now, Philip Preschneider.
That's a good start.
Well, I mean, that performance at Spa might have just shown, well, it's no longer blurry. I can see where I'm going. I've found my pace again. So let's see if that works for Philip Preschneider. But a fresh set of glasses for Philip Preschneider has helped him out, I think.
Well, there we go. See, it's not just about technology in terms of the wheel systems. It's not just the cars themselves. It is not just the setup. You know, you got to have good eyewear, good vision as well. Philip Preschneider, certainly a statement to that fact as well, as he makes his way through the final sector, and this will be his first time on the board. Does not decide to list it though, straight into the pit lane for Philip Preschneider, and he'll look to come out again. Luke Smith about to commence his first flying lap, and this man in the Alpine, Jack, he's got talent.
Certainly has. He's a race winner already this season, and a pole sitter to boot as well as Luke Smith, that took the win in Saudi Arabia from the pole. And yeah, Alpine have been really, really good this season as he runs tiny bit wide in the exit of turn 2 there. Now everybody's out on the track except for Philip Preschneider. So he had the track to himself, and now everybody else is out for their runs. There's a Luke Smith invalidation, unfortunately for him, and that is one thing about this circuit, George. It's got lots of runoff, but at the same time, the margins are incredibly fine because it's incredibly easy to invalidate a lap around here.
It is very easy. Lots of runoff, but you don't want to be caught out in the runoff. Wilson Hughes back on track as well, and has had a fairly steady start to the season as well. Has picked up modest points and has been in the championship fight since the very start of the season, and the campaign has been pretty solid for the Scotsman as he makes his way down the Mistral Straight. Of course, next to little elevation. We've gone from one extreme to the other. Of course, Spa with an abundance of elevation, not so much here at Paul Ricard, as now we count ourselves down within the final 7 minutes. Danny Moreno leaving the session. Now that's not a good place to be, certainly when the minute counter is counting downwards, as we now watch Wilson Hughes make his way through the latter sector. Heads through now the Bousset corner at turn 11, very soon turn 12 as well. More and more cars about to cross the line too, as we now see Wilson Hughes round the next turn 14 at Virage out of Delatour, and then into the Virage du Pont as well, heading out now. This is the Virage section heading through. Danny Berejne sets a 129.783 to get the ball rolling. And Wilson Hughes now about to cross the line himself. What will he enlist here at this point? Will Lewis go second fastest at 129.815? Wilson Hughes straight to the top and over a tenth quicker, 1.5 tenths in fact quicker than Danny Berejne.
Yeah, good opening effort from Wilson Hughes. Ishmael Fassi immediately surpasses it by a couple of hundredths of a second. Max Wissel pops into the third in the Aston Martin, and Alvaro Caraton slotting in front of his new esports counterpart. But there is Otis Lawrence and Donoso now. Donoso again, great turn of pace last week. but again, hasn't quite been able to convert just yet. But up to the front now is Fabrizio Donoso. He's been looking really good. Barry Borman also pops in at 29.5, so it's incredibly close as per usual. What's Ronar got in the bag? Let's see on his first runs on those soft tyres. Pops across the line and goes a full 2/10 quicker, as we would expect from Thomas Ronar.
Yeah, 8th fastest for Jake Benham as well, but Thomas Ronar going quickest of anybody, a 1:29.331, and that is over 2.5 tenths quicker than Fabrizio Donoso, who's currently sat in behind as well. No, in fact, it's not that much. It's over 1.5 tenths. There's me getting ahead of myself there, folks. So 1:29.331. That holds on to the P1 spot here in Q1. Donoso just in behind as well. Otis Lawrence in third. More and more cars coming through. Prejnader also making his way around on his flying lap as well. Currently stuck in Sector 1. Obviously, still yet to enlist a fast lap. Already invalidated 3 consecutive runs. Starting out in this session of Q1 as he now rounds this next right. Heading out of this particular section at turn 6 out of turn 7. And now down the Mistral straight with a chicane in the middle. Of course, they do take the chicane out from time to time here at Paul Ricard. But certainly here in Formula 1, they do maintain the chicane here at the circuit of Le Castellet. As we're now seeing Philip Prejnader now out of the Mistral chicane. And he'll send it down through towards Sector 3 and round turn 10 at Signé Corner. And of course, we did harp on about Prejnader's responsibilities going forward, Jack. Obviously, no longer with the main team at Alpine, but they're maintaining him, keeping him in to help build on what they do in the back room, working on setups and also just basics just to sort of proceed and try and push the progress within the team and help out the drivers who are currently on the roster.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's a good thing for them to keep him on the books at the very least. So it is, I think, a solid option for Alpine to keep him on, and he's continuing to perform here in League Racing, even if he didn't quite get across the line last week. But he's starting to find his form again, perhaps without the pressure on his shoulders there for Philip Prejnader representing the team here. But it's all quiet then out on the track. No laps from Moreno, from Prejnader, or from Luke Smith. Drop zone currently is Dylan Warren and Liam Parnell, but it is incredibly close. You see Donoso, Lawrence, Boerman, Fassi and Altmaier all on the 29.5. So again, small margins. You've got Jack West on a 29.6. Wilson Hughes also on a 29.6. Otis Lawrence retiring. He set a high 29.5s. You would expect Donoso and Ronar, when they see that, they're going to think they're safe. Yeah,
Fassi is also retired as well. So that's Otis and as well as Ishmael Fassi that's retired. Thomas Ronhaar has also done the same. So both Hasses feel that they've done enough to proceed into Q2. Danny Perez now out on an outlap, and he definitely isn't safe. In the bottom 10, see 12th spot is currently where he sits. But just look at those gaps, folks. Absolutely sensational. As you can see, the top 17 all within 7.5 tenths, very nearly 7 tenths of a second. Liam Parnell just above the 7/10th of a second mark. Will Lewis now out on an outlap as well. Philip Prejnader, who's yet to set a lap himself. Luke Smith as well, heading out onto the track. Now Moreno's at severe risk here, Jack. Still not left the pit lane, and we're coming into the final 2 minutes. He's going to run out of time here.
Yeah, it might have to be a sort of last to first, maybe challenge or something for Danny Moreno here, but he's only managed to get back in now. So if he can get himself out on the track in the next couple of seconds even, he might have a chance, but it would be a shame for him to bow out in this one. I've just had to go into the steward's room briefly, George, because Fabrizio Donoso is supposed to be serving a qualifying ban, and there you go. He's got himself disqualified, so now he's serving it. So
oh, there you go.
There you go. So Donoso was supposed to be serving a qualifying ban. Well, that would have done it then. He's been disqualified, so he'll start from the back of the grid. So that is an extra spot for somebody that will put Dylan Moran in for the moment in this qualifying session. So I had to double check that to make sure that the information was correct, but he's answered it for me.
Well, there we go. So Donoso disqualified out of the session. Therefore, he will not be proceeding into Q2, and therefore will be bowing out here at this stage. So that leaves 4 cars to be eliminated out of this session as we now watch Danny Perezne make his way through the first sector, heading through now towards turn 6 through the Saint-Baume corner, and heading through towards turn 7. Mistral straight up next. DRS will now open up, and Danny Perezne will be able to send it down through towards the Mistral chicane as well. Speed trap located at the end of this point as well. They now make their way through and jettison their way through the several apexes they have here that you need to hit at Paul Ricard if you want to maximise your pace, certainly get that delta up. So now we're seeing Berejne make his way through the Signé corner now as well. Obviously, has been part of the esports scene now for such a long time. It's been part of Veloce for a very long time as well. Has raced in league racing for even longer and has been very successful as well. A multi-time league racing champion. And also competed at the very top with the likes of Mercedes during Brendan Lee's rampant, early career, which blossomed under the helm of Mercedes, that has since served Jana Wotmir ever so well as well, as we now see Dani Berejne make his way up towards the line now. Where is the Hungarian going to position himself? Is it going to be higher within the top 10 by any chance? It certainly will be. Fourth fastest, so 129.582. Still not enough to topple Thomas Ronhaar, though.
No, absolutely not, but Ronhaar will be completely safe. Luke Smith, though, needs to get time on the board here. Comes out of the final corner in his Alpine. Currently sits 19th. Should be able to get himself out with this time if he gets across the line. He goes into 10th on a 29.7. Safe for the moment. Jack West then across the line. Where's he going to go? He's going to stay where he was for the moment. Next up to cross the line is Will Lewis. On the cusp at the moment. Can he make sure that he's safe in his new car? 13th place for him. Maybe safe. We'll wait and see. We'll have to wait to see if Philip Preschneider gets himself through for the moment. Next up, Liam Parnell sneaks in 15th place for the moment. Caraton rockets up to 7th, knocks out Liam Parnell for now. So the only car that can get themselves through now, the two cars out on the track, Ace Van Pookie and Dylan Warren. Can they knock out the two cars in front of them, Joost Noordijk and Max Wissel, in danger at the moment? Here comes Ace Van Pookie off the back of his win, sneaks in 14th, knocks out Joost Noordijk for the moment. And also we had somebody else just get through there, which knocked out Max Wissel at the very last possible moment. So very, very close across the line right there, but Max Wissel out, Will Lewis out, Parnell, Moreno, disappointingly, he got out on the track, George, but then validated his only run, and he'll start 19th. Yeah,
not the best return for Danny Moreno, but how about Dylan Warren, top 10? I tell you what, when you think of Dylan Warren, Jack Canan, you think of season 27, where he did have a full-time seat in the very first season of PC at PSGL, and I tell you what, he has lived long in the legends that is of Premier Sim Gaming Leagues, and he's now heading through to Q2 in great style as well. Thomas Ronhaar, though, fastest. He is enlisted at 129.331 with Otis Lawrence second for Red Bull, just outside the 0.2 of a second mark. Let's just take a look at the eliminations, because there's plenty there that obviously to discuss. We got Max Wissel, who is unfortunately out. Will Lewis out as well. Liam Parnell out as well. So Red Bull down to one car, as are Williams and Aston Martin. Danny Moreno, the difficulty of getting in the session. Obviously, he was kicked out the session, pretty much left the session, came back in, but it was just simply too late, an invalidation, which would then lead him not setting a lap, and Fabrizio Donoso obviously serving his quali ban. But there we have it, folks. Incredible scenes indeed. Obviously, like I said, Dylan Warren, a welcome return back to PCF1.
Yeah, absolutely. I know he'll have some great support. He always has done, as Dylan Warren, for his efforts. But yeah, just to clarify, obviously, had to double check in the stewards room for Fabrizio Donoso's qualifying ban. That was from last week, where he impeded Philip Preschneider on his timed lap. So that is the reason for that, and he fully admitted to doing it as well. So it's unfortunate, but it's easy to forget sometimes if you have a qualifying ban, but at least realised it and is now serving it nonetheless as we get Q2 underway then. And we have lots of cars coming out straight away to set a time on used tyres, but 2.5 tenths of a second in Q1 already. That's a bit scary for the rest of the grid.
It is, and obviously they're all going to be certainly asking major questions about where they can extract the pace from. Obviously here at Paul Ricard, we've alluded to the runoff. It's in many ways, Jack, harder to decipher where's best to position the car around Paul Ricard, because it's so open. You know, there's many tracks, you know, for instance, such as Spa, where we've already been to, obviously Spain as well, where you can identify certain braking points and areas where you can put the throttle down. I would say at Paul Ricard, it's slightly more difficult, certainly with the fact that it is far flatter. Don't get me wrong, you don't have the risk of bumps as such like you would do at other tracks, but to say the least, it's not very clear in certain areas where you can brake going into corners. It's a very, very tricky circuit. Naturally, when it's so open, it can also be all the more difficult.
Absolutely, it's these tracks where it seems simple, but it's again extracting that time out of the sort of non-technical circuits that really separates the greatest from the rest. So it is quite congested out on the track. Only Istvan Pukki and Dylan Warren are in the pit lane at the moment. Everyone else is out on the circuit, and I think by the looks of it, Danny Beresne will get us underway for this run in qualifying 2. And if you want to talk about a man who's been unlucky this whole season, I think Danny Beresne embodies unlucky. Well,
I think that is probably the right statement if we consider his fortune, certainly in recent times. But Beresne, they're making his way, can obviously look to try and push himself further up the order because he has got the pace. We saw it in the last time moments of the previous session, of course, pulling off clutch laps that would bring him into the top 5, of course, until the other times would come rolling in. But he certainly is quick, the Hungarian. Would never write him off. Of course, was touted to be a future F1 esports champion after his first couple of seasons, even in the realm of esports. And you know, people were talking about him the same way they were talking about the likes of Jarno Opmeer. Is unfortunately invalidated though this current lap, so he will not be setting one on this occasion. An early blow, and with 12 minutes to go, at least he'll have a little bit more time. Can obviously enlist yet another lap. Could probably fit another 2, in fact, at this point.
Yeah, certainly could if they come out straight away, just in case something like that did happen. Beresne obviously invalidating that run, so we'll have to see how the others are getting on. Of course, these times should be on a huge set of tyres to come out straight away. You would expect that. Jack West and Istvan Pukki maybe not bothering to do a run on used sets, so we'll just see how they get on later on if they come out on a shiny new set. But everyone else here appearing to be on old tyres at the moment to save an extra set. So first couple of cars are crossing the line now. Ishmael Fassi will get the first time. There's your indication, a 30.2. We were in the mid-29s earlier on, so these runs all on used tyres. 30.0 for Ronard, just in front of Caraton. And we'll have a couple more still to cross the line here. Otis Lawrence, 29.9. If that's on used, that's really good from Otis Lawrence there on those used tyres. Excellent effort from him. Philip Preschner popping into P5 and the 2 Mercedes. Crossing the line behind Jake Benham, popping in front there. Then Jarno Opmeer about to cross the line now, and he'll pop in just behind his teammate on a 13.2. But Otis Lawrence, tell you what, used set of tyres in the 29s. I'm keeping an eye on him.
Yep, super lap there from Otis Lawrence. Obviously has been a rising star in the world of league racing. We've seen him on many an occasion. I hark back to that battle back in Spain. It was tenacious, wasn't it? Him and Nicolas Longuet fighting over position in the top 5, and it was a wonder to behold. But Otis Lawrence actually held his ground, Jack, as they head through the final sector.
Certainly did, and that's what we like about it. And you know, Otis definitely likes to get the elbows out. He's been on a consistent run of improvements. We're just waiting to get that podium under his belt. I think you can sort of feel it coming shortly, and possibly a win in the near future if everything goes his way. But again, it's good to see him up there at the top. Of course, coming across from console and immediately up on the pace on PC, so great to see him up at the front end for now. But now we're getting into the next part of qualifying. Luke Smith has come out while everybody else is coming in, and those are some very shiny new tyres on Luke Smith's Alpine. So we will see now the difference. Of course, we were on the mid-29s, sort of 29.5s, 29.3s earlier on in Q1, so you can expect these times to start creeping down to just that little bit into Q3. So we're sort of looking at maybe low 29s that we're going to be aiming for here. But Luke Smith fancying the track to himself on those new tyres. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, naturally he won't have any traffic to deal with. Another man who's fancying a trip out in a very quiet circuit is Danny Beresne, who is now out on an outlap himself. And the 2 Ferraris look like they're coming out as well, Joost Noordijk and Barry Burremand. Of course, for those of you who aren't sure which one Barry Burremand is, he is BB7. So that's the gamer tag that he is adopting today. We're now seeing Luke Smith make his way through the latter sector here at Paul Ricard, and he'll begin his flying lap. Shouldn't have too much trouble, though I'm looking in the pit lane. Quite a few cars leaving already. Luke Smith could yet come under some difficulty, because if he makes his start now on his flying lap here right now, he's going to be facing a lot of cars in front of him, Jack Canat. Yeah, you would hope they're going to get out of his way, but he's going to have a lot of cars to deal with on his fast lap. Here's Luke Smith. You see the Mercedes coming out of the pit lane there. The two Mercedes, Jake Benham and Jarno Watmere, coming out as well. They need to have a good race today, of course, with the penalties, of course. Jake, I mean, we didn't actually mention Jake for last week. Brilliant strategy call, and then proceeded to spin it from the lead when he had, and it could have been an easy victory for Jake Benham, but didn't get it together in the end, and he'll be looking to rectify that now. He sits behind Barry and Jarno in the points. Barry and Jarno are tied on points on 43. Jake just behind them now, but a lot of points going by the wayside last week for Jake Benham, so he'll be looking to make up for that. But Luke Smith as well, he's still there or thereabouts in the championship. He's fallen a little ways off now. Of course, he missed a round or two, but again, that win bringing him up into the championship fight. He's on 32 points, so actually not that far off the guys in front of him. He'll still be aiming for that, but he's right in there. He can sort of bring himself back into it if he can string together a good race today. He's just coming up into the final sector now. We'll get an indication of the sort of pace we're aiming for. He is on brand new tyres. Let's not forget, everyone else who set times in front would have been on used. Has managed to negotiate through the traffic. The traffic very well behaved. In front of him as Luke Smith comes around the final corner then to get us underway with the real times of Q2. Comes up to the line now. What's it going to be for Luke Smith crossing the line? It's a 29.2. We're already quicker than we were in Q1.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is 6 tenths, nigh on 7 tenths faster, 7 tenths in fact faster, near enough, than Otis Lawrence. So a great lap time there from Luke Smith, but I suppose hammers home the fact of how good Otis Lawrence's lap was, I suppose, on what could be described as used tyres as well. Danny Berejne making his way through the final sector, and he'll shortly join Luke Smith in setting his fast lap here in Q2 as well. 6 minutes, just under 6 minutes and 20 to go now as the Alfa Romeo makes its way through the final sector. Turn 14 and 15 up next. Through Rivage DuPont he goes, and up through towards the line now. Opens up the DRS. What's Danny Berejne going to set? Is it going to be anywhere close to Luke Smith at this point? Not far away. Probably would have wanted a little better than that. A 29.501. It's not the best we've seen, Jack.
No, it certainly has. That's an impressive lap from Luke Smith then. If he hooked that up together. Here comes Barry Borman. Let's see if he can equal that down in his Ferrari. Comes across the line. 29.0
brilliant.
Barry Borman. Here we go. Barry Borman with the 29.0 then. Joost Noordijk coming across the line. He has invalidated that time by the looks of it. Dylan Warren comes up. He goes third fastest. Great lap from Dylan Warren. 29.310. Jack West then coming up to the line now on his first run on new tyres in the Alfa Romeo. Not a bad lap either. 29.4. Running it up to the line then, Caraton, what's he got in the tank? And his Williams comes up to the line, P6 for the moment. Then we have Isfan Pukki, last week's winner, last week's shock winner. What's he got in the bag? Goes up to P6 on 29.5. Then Wilson Hughes on the 29.4 pops in front of Jack West and Danny Berejne. And I think Otis Lawrence is just beginning his lap now. Ronar though, let's see what he's got in the tank. 29.0 from Borman. What's he got? 29.1, slots in behind by 2/100ths of a second for the moment in Q2. But Barry Borman, the first man to dip into the zeros there. Altmere coming across the line now. What's he got? P8, 29.4 for him. So it looks like everybody has set times now, but Otis Lawrence, he's on a second push. Well, it looks like he's on a second push lap, but I reckon he's going to be coming into the pits. Yeah,
I think so. Incredible lap, though, from Barry Burman of 129.082. And that is absolutely sensational. Obviously, beats Thomas Ronhaar's P2 time. Of course, Ronhaar setting a 129.104. Barry Burman up on the top with a 129.082. An absolutely sensational lap. Luke Smith in third as well. Again, I'm going to say it, Jack. Dylan Warren, a 29.310. Sensational lap from him.
Absolutely, for a man who's sick, he's not doing too bad at the moment, is Dylan Warren.
What is it with people who are sick in it? They pull off absolutely incredible laps or races. We saw it with Jarno Watmere at USA. That was arguably his greatest racing performance of the season, or ever, should we say, in league racing.
Yeah, and he was barely keeping it together. And,
it's
Dylan
baffling.
Warren, all of a sudden, is feeling sick, but pulling off an incredible performance so far. It looks like he might get himself through. Barry Borman retiring then. He feels he's safe on the 29.0, and I would tend to agree on the 29.0. So we'll see now as we head into Q3. There's a real battle for pole position on here. The pole positions battle has been ongoing between Borman and Ronar, and it looks like it's going to boil over once again Luke Smith on a 29-2. He's got a bit of a decision to make, hasn't he, on that 29-2. Does he feel safe? Does he not on that time at the moment? But I think there's going to be... it's a bit of a scrap further down. Then you've got Wilson Hughes, Jake Benham, Jarno Watmere, Jack West, Otis Lawrence, all on a 29-4. And the two teammates of Benham and Otmere are separated by just 0.03 of a second.
Yeah, Philip Presnader invalidating his current run, but obviously he's still out on an outlap, so not a lot to be concerned about. And making his way through the latter sector, and will very shortly make his way round the final corner of turn 15, and will then commence his next lap, which will be his fast run. Obviously his best run so far in this session at 1:30.351. I tell you what, the glasses must be working, Jack, because at least he's into Q2.
Yeah, the glasses are certainly working. Let's see if he can hook it up together, though, on this next lap is Philip Presnader. But he's not going to like seeing Wilson Hughes coming out in front of him here, which is going to be a bit of a distraction at the very least. Heads through and that'll be an invalidation. So he's going to have to go again, unfortunately, for Philip Presnader. Ran a tiny bit too wide in Q2. There's the frustration coming through. Runs out wide, and he'll have to just charge up and go again. But frustration again for Philip Presnader.
Yeah, absolutely. Danny Berejne also making his way around. He is on an out lap as well, and will very soon commence his final flying lap of Q2. Everything's up for grabs now, and he's in the bottom 5, so really needs a big run here towards the end of Q2. The ones who are currently in jeopardy, Berejne, Pookie, Karaton, Presnader, Nordyke as well, and they're all out on track right now. The track is busy. The only 3 cars that aren't out on track are the ones that have retired. That, of course, being Barry Burman, Thomas Ronhar, and Luke Smith. And now Berejne will look to commence yet another lap. Has been pretty good in clutch circumstances. Of course, his best lap coming out of Q1. And obviously that was set right at the very end, lifting him out of the bottom 10 and into the top 10. And he'll look to do the same again to enlist his spot heading into Q3. Berejne set to yet again continue in the world of F1 esports. Of course, we did hear clarification from him that he does have plans to stay in the sport. Great to hear that he will do as well. I tell you what, nothing better than seeing a vintage Danny Berejne performance, Jack.
No, there's nothing like it, and we want to see some more brake pedals going through the back wall. Is what we want to see.
Holes in the plasterboard.
Yeah, absolutely. What I am noticing, it's a tiny bit cloudy around here at France. It's clouding over a little bit.
It does look a bit dark.
Yeah, so maybe.
You hoping for another Spa situation, Jack?
Well, I mean, we could, but I mean, that's probably the craziest one because it dried up within about a lap. So we'll wait and see if that happens. But it is getting cloudy around France here. But Berejne, half a tenth up on his best in the first sector, so we'll get that indication shortly about where roughly he is. Half a tenth would put him inside the top 10. So let's see if he can find a bit more than that, because a tenth would bring him up around Ishmael Fassi territory. So here comes Danny Berejne then, coming up to the final 2 corners now. Let's see if he can get himself through into Q3. Will luck finally go his way this season and see if he can get himself a result today. But across the line now, here comes Danny Berejne then in the Alfa Romeo. He's P11 right now. Where is he going to be at the end of this lap then? He goes up to P7. Currently safe, but only just. Not really not probably with the lap that he wanted. So that puts Otis Lawrence then in the hot seat. P11 he is right now. And we'll see if he can get himself through into Q3. Again, the star of console. Let's see if he can bring himself up into Q3 once again. Solid performances all the way around. Comes up to the line then for Otis Lawrence. See if he can get himself through to the next part of qualifying, and he certainly does. 29.1 pops him up to 3rd place then, as now Ishmael Fassi. Can he get himself through? He stays P6 for now. Next up to cross the line then will be Philip Presnader. He doesn't make it through. Jack West in the hot seat in P11. Will he be able to knock out Jarno Watmere potentially with this lap across the line? He does. P8 for Jack West. Jarno Watmere now P11. Let's see if he can get himself out of P11. Then he started there last week. Let's see if he'll start there again this week. But Jake Benham now, he's in P11. He's been demoted again down to P11 because we've had another improvement in front. But here comes Jake Benham then in his Mercedes. Does he get himself through to Q3? He does. P5 for him then. Jarno Watmere out of the final corner. Will he get himself out into Q3 then in his Mercedes car? Crosses the line. Does he make it through? He doesn't.
He doesn't.
So Jarno Watmere is out again in Q2 P12 for him. A shock exit again for Jarno Watmere in Q2, as well as Danny Berejne.
Yeah, not only that, Barry Burremand also topping Thomas Ronhaar at the end of Q2. So looking really strong is the fast Iranian. And obviously retired from the session early after that stupendous lap we saw on the fresh tyres. Otis Lawrence, sensational as well towards the end, within the same 10th of a second as Barry Burremand and Thomas Ronhaar. Luke Smith just outside of that, 4th place for him. Jake Benham in 5th, Dylan Warren 6th, Ishmael Fassi 7th, Wilson Hughes 8th, as well as Alvaro Caraton, who's in 9th, Jack West 10th. And then we have the drivers that did not make it through. Danny Berejna, Jana Watmir, shock exit. The 2 AlphaTauris, Pookie Prejnader, and then Joost Noordijk for Ferrari did not make it through either. So here we go, folks. We're coming down to the final 10 cars. It is all on Q3. Now, this will decide as to who starts on pole position, who will start where in the top 10. We've done Q1, we've done Q2. It's onwards to Q3. Probably the biggest shock out of that one, Jack Kinnan, Jana Watmir not making it into Q3.
It's raining.
And it's raining. Well. That is also big news.
Yes, it is. So maybe not the biggest, again, it mightn't be the worst thing in the world, but again, it's going to put everyone else on the same tire. But Jana Watmir will be rubbing his hands. If it's going to rain in the race again, we know he shines in those conditions. So let's wait and see. But I just want to give a massive recognition to the 2 guys, Dylan Warren and Jack West, getting through to Q3. What a performance. Yeah, the 2 Alpines looking exceptional right now. Is this the rebirth of Dylan Warren, Jack Kinnan? That's what I want to know. But it could very well be Dylan Warren. I mean, maybe he just needs to get sick more often, because it seems to just get everyone else get his performances together. Now, this is very interesting, George. The drivers have rushed out onto the circuit on dries. So they're trying to see if they can get a lap in early, because if they do, and this track continues to get wetter and wetter and wetter, what you're witnessing right now, as slow as they may be, could very well be the times that set the grid.
Well, it could well be. And I tell you what, folks, if the weather is changeable, obviously we'll head across now to the next screen now. You can now see the current conditions. It's a deluge out there, Jack Kinnan. It is a sincere deluge, and the weather is certainly coming down. Just look at the puddles on the circuit. I tell you what, and at a very flat circuit like Paul Ricard, you get a lot of standing water, and that's what the drivers are going to be contesting with now. The Haas of Thomas Ronhaar and Ishmael Fassi are obviously going to be the first to, well, enlist lap times, but at this moment in time, every car out on track, bar Wilson Hughes. Now, is this him saying that the weather's improving, I'm not going to waste a set of tyres?
Potentially, or he just knows that the inters are going to be the better tyre, or he knows it's going to dry up, so why bother? So that it's interesting to see. Wilson Hughes is coming out, and he's on the inters, and everyone else is on dries. Well, so this is this Spa? Is this Spa? I don't know what we're witnessing right now, but it's qualifying already. And Wilson Hughes has decided, I don't think the dries are going to be quick enough. I'm coming out on the inters. So, well, this could be interesting, because if these guys using the dry tyres, this could waste a set for them in the race. So, interesting tactics all the way around, but let's see which one is going to be the right choice. I see the Mercedes Jake Benham has come back in, as has Otis Lawrence. So they're coming back in. They're going to switch on to inters, but everyone else out here is committing to the dry tyres.
Oh,
out here,
Ronhaar spin
for, I think that's Ronhaar. Yes, it was. Tried to pick up too much throttle there, round it went. So there's your indication then. Wilson Hughes has made the right choice by the looks of it.
Yeah, a spin for Thomas Ronhaar. So there we go, folks. That's exactly what we're talking about. The changeable conditions here at Paul Ricard. Anything can happen at a circuit such as this. I mean, I tell you what, folks, this is sensational. Very, very synonymous as well with what happened at Spa, only this time we're seeing it in qualifying. And Wilson Hughes out on track on intermediate tyres. Now, he's not alone this time, because everyone else is donning them. Otis Lawrence, Luke Smith, Jake Benham, and Jack West. So all of them having a change of heart. Half the grid on green tyres, the other half on red. So all of it, it's a bit of a split decision, but I would imagine that everyone on the softs are going to come straight back in and fit a set of intermediate tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. So they, again, that's a set of tyres that they've just wasted from doing that. And what makes this a great decision for Wilson Hughes as well is that if the rain gets worse, if he hooks this lap up, this could be the pole lap, who knows?
Yeah, it could be, because he might have the best conditions of the lot, because he waited, and obviously he would have the early well, he'd have the presence out on track while perhaps the intermediate conditions are still vastly more intermediate than wet, because obviously we haven't considered the fact that we could get yet more rain, and if we do, then if it gets wetter, we could be seeing wet weather tyres being brought out, in which case it's too late for the rest of the drivers on the grid. Could have been a high IQ strategy here from Wilson Hughes. Let's wait and see what the Scot can deliver. Down to Mistral straight. Very important that he nails a big lap here, Jack. It did look like he went purple in the first sector, though.
Yeah, that would be the best time in the session so far. Just makes to sort of just make sure.
Of course, he would be
doesn't
purple.
and doesn't want to invalidate this run. That's the main thing. He needs to get this time on the board, even if it's not maybe competitive or all of that. But again, just needs to get it on the board to make absolutely sure. But this is. And again, as soon as I mention it, as soon as I point it out, Wilson Hughes invalidates the time through the fast right-hand corner. So that maybe has just thrown away the advantage that he just had. Well,
that's a rough ride, but Jack West, he is going to be the next man to enlist a fast lap. He's just started his run now. So we have got, tell you what, we've got a real question mark as to who's going to be pole in this one, folks. I'm going to throw it to you guys in the live chat on this one. Who's getting pole position here at Paul Ricard? Let us know, and we'll read out your suggestions as well. Jack, where do you see it going?
I normally do have a prediction right now, but I honestly have absolutely no idea. And I love it.
Well, I tell you what, we can see in the chat here. Barry says Dino Monkey. We've got Jack for Richie. Timon saying Ishmael Pole. We've also got Otis Lawrence, says Luke Etheridge. We've got more here as well. Plenty of others here voting in. Joshua Davis saying Otis. 8F1 her saying Big Dog Sparks. Caraton says Matthew Kettle as well. Otis says Real as well. Sorry, I'm not sure what the last bit says. Puzzle Dan is Jack West as well. Otis says Jess. We've got Jake Benham from Thomas. We've got Otis for Alex Fresh. We've got Jake for Alp. Further down, what we got here? Rodney Shulman saying Jake Benham as well. We got Ron Hart for Fenris and Alvaro for Virage. I tell you what, incredible scenes here. Sensational. I tell you what, answers on a postcard, folks, as to who's going to take pole. Sensational. Jack West now. He's invalidated as well, Jack, so he's definitely not going to be hitting pole.
No, by the looks of it, no. And do you know what? I think I'm going to put my money on Otis Lawrence. Why not?
Just the next one. Just the next one.
Just the next one. Just somebody can get a lap on the board, surely. That's what we need. But I think it sets a good performance here from Otis Lawrence today as he comes across the start-finish line now to set the benchmark for this. 38.2 is the first lap on those intermediate tyres. But here comes Jake Benham now, slots in behind 38.9. A lot of time to find there for Jake Benham. Lots of time to find. And that is an epic lap if that's the gap then for Otis Lawrence. Then that's a big 7/10 of a second that he's got in the bag there as Caraton begins his lap now as well. Again, a little bit out of shape through turn 2, but another man who's on a lap right now as well, and another one you really can't out, can you, is Barry Bormans, who's had 2 poles already this season, flicking it through the left and right. We'll get the indication then what the sector is going to be as it comes through. 24.492. Great first sector from him there. But 4 and a bit minutes to go then. It's really anyone's at the moment, but I tell you what, Otis Lawrence, he's right up there.
He is, and Lawrence looking extremely good. Obviously faster than Jake Benham by 7/10 of a second, well, near enough 7/10. We've got Barry Burman currently sat in 4th as well, and peeling out of the Mistral chicane. The Scuderia Ferrari, of course, has had some sensational qualifying lap times that he's put on the board as well. Obviously trying to recapture the form that, of course, he had at the very start of the season. Slominous with Barry Burman obviously tends to win races at the start of the season, but that is when the form tends to decline, when he makes his way through the midway and latter part of the season. So no time like the present for Barry Burman. If he wants to score a pole, now would be the time to do it, but he has invalidated Jack Cannan.
Yeah, ran wide, and he's going to have to go again. And this is why getting that lap early was so crucial and wasting time. And Ronar's run wide as well. But again, he's invalidated his run. So it's all gone on. Every single person has invalidated their runs, George. So this is playing into the hands of Otis Lawrence more and more by each lap that goes by, because he's really the only one who's set a representative time on the board.
Well, I tell you what, it certainly does look like it's going to fall to the Welshman's way. I mean, further back, we got more and more cars trying to make their way through. Ismail Fassi also invalidating his lap as well. Dylan Warren, he's coming up towards the line. He's invalidated too. So everyone's invalidated. We've only got 3 valid lap times on the board. Should it stay like this, Otis Lawrence is on pole position. Wilson Hughes out on an out lap as well. All the cars staying out, looking to enlist better lap times as well. Alpines currently all across the circuit, including Luke Smith, who has incidentally found time in the second sector as well. So making his way in towards the next right at the Signy corner at turn 10. Let's see what he can pull together, because Luke Smith with a prime chance of improving on his lap. He's going to need a vast improvement to topple Otis Lawrence.
Yeah, the thing is, he's only got 5% of ERS, but again, he needs to find time in these final sectors. He has got it, because there's no way he's about a second off there, but he's backed off of his lap now. He's got a car coming up behind him, which is Jack West, who's also backed out of his lap. Who was actually on a time here?
Well, Jake Benham's invalidated as well, so he won't be setting another lap. I mean, we've got, obviously, all of these drivers, I think, are teeing up yet one more fast run. I mean, they're only going to have one last chance here. This is the most bizarre qualifying session we have ever seen, certainly here this season in PSGL. I'm sure we've had others in the past, but certainly this one has been absolutely off the chain. Alvaro Caraton very nearly losing the rear as well, getting very twisty heading through the final sector, but he is still valid on this lap, but it is going to be touch and go as to whether he can improve far enough to get ahead of Otis Lawrence up towards the line. How close is this going to be? Goes fourth fast. It's not enough to disturb the top or the front row at all. Otis Lawrence, I have to tell you, I think he's pulled a worldie, Jack.
He certainly has. Here comes Barry, slots in behind him. I tell you, that is an epic lap from Otis Lawrence. He's 6/10 clear of everyone else. And Barry Borman, Jake Benham, they can't get close to him. Ronar's 39.0, Jake Benham's 38.9. Ronar's backed out of his lap, as has Barry Borman. Unless anyone else can improve, I reckon this is an Otis Lawrence pole position, because I think the track's got worse.
Well, I think so. And it's got to the point now where even intermediate tyres aren't useful here at this Paul Ricard circuit, which only makes Barry Burman's lap, I think, sensational to get into P2 in conditions such as this to go ahead of Jake Benham. But I can't see anyone touching Otis Lawrence's time. And I tell you what, you be wondering what if you're Wilson Hughes as well, Jack, because if he got his lap in early, without a doubt, he could have been considered pole position sitter.
Yeah, and that was why I was saying it was so crucial. I'm looking at Jack West and his time. He's already 2/10 off his best in the first sector, so this will be the indication now. Wilson Hughes coming through the last 2 corners. Let's see the difference. He's coming through the final corner now. He's going to be nowhere near.
He's way off.
He's way off. 35, 36, 37, 38. He's going to be about 3 or 4 seconds off by the looks of it here as he crosses the line here. Or about 2 seconds off the pace. P8 for him. There are no improvements on the board at the moment. We're just ticking down the laps here, as Ismail Fassi is also on a lap there. We're not going to say it just yet, just in case we get an absolutely mental lap from somebody here. Jack West goes up to P8 on the 39.891. There's only one car left to sort of cross the line. Everyone else is sort of just circulating around. But what a qualifying, and what an epic performance from young Otis Lawrence for the very first time, George, for the very first time. And my tip for pole, I'm just saying it. He's taken it. He's done it for the first time in PSGL PCF1. Otis Lawrence is on pole.
You finally got one, Jack. You finally got one. But Otis Lawrence has managed to secure pole position for the first time ever in PSGL PC Championship. He's going to be absolutely thrilled with that. It's just been a constant trend of improvement from the young Welshman, who's been working hard at his game, working hard at a tender age as well. Very young man, nowhere near old enough to qualify for challenges, for example, or even getting a seat in F1 Esports. But in 2 years' time, you'll have a chance. Otis Lawrence, 14 years of age, now on pole position for the very first time in this PSGL PC Championship. How about that?
Yeah, that's a hell of a story. Otis Lawrence absolutely deserved, and he put it together at the perfect time. Got the lap in when he needed to, and takes pole by the largest margin we've seen so far, I think, close to ever. 6/10 of a second. He's managed to put it in front. Wilson Hughes is just crossing the line now to get a final lap in to see if he can get an improvement, but he can't. And he will be absolutely fuming, because if he got that first lap in, surely at least a front row would have been on the cards for Wilson Hughes, but that invalidation has cost him that front row. But we'll have the confirmation in just a few moments of the starting grid for this one, and this is going to be a spicy race now. The rain loves to spice things up here, but for the first time ever, Otis Lawrence starts on pole in PSGL PCF1 by nearly 0.6 of a second. Barry Borman is on the front row with him. Jake Benham qualifies in third, and they again the championship rivals out qualifying Ronar as well. Big moment there. Luke Smith, Dylan Warren is starting sixth as well.
Brilliant,
great stuff.
Brilliant qualifying for Dylan.
Out qualifying the Williams of Algarve Caraton. Jack West up in P8, Wilson Hughes in P9, and Ishmael Fassi will line up in 10th place. Don't go anywhere. This is going to be some race.
Absolutely, folks. Do not go away. I say that now. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back shortly. Welcome back, folks. We're just about to get ready for the start of the race. It is dry conditions for the start of this race, so Otis Lawrence getting the best possible chance. Not only enlisting a pole time lap that was, just superbly timed. Just placement was everything. We're just about to get ready now for the race, folks. All lights now lighting up. Can't get used to it without the formation lap. Sensational. As now they all line up. 5 lights lit, and it's pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go. Otis Lawrence getting away well. So does Barry Burman. Jake Benham in third place. Thomas Ronha also looking to try and find a way through. Further back, Dylan Warren getting a lovely start. Has gone ahead of Luke Smith, and he also goes ahead of Thomas Ronha. Fights him off the track there as the 2 Alpines now look to take on the Haas of Thomas Ronha. 3 wide, 3 of the Varieses as they make their way through the first sector. Ronha now still with a nose in front. But Dylan Warren fighting back here on lap 1. Further back then, further on, Luke Smith trying to find his way through still. The Alpine hasn't given up. Down the Mistral straight. Ronald still trying to hold on here. But look at Warren again. Outside line now. Heading down the Mistral chicane now very shortly. You'll have to precisely prime his braking point. But Warren moves ahead of him. Luke Smith now fighting off Thomas Ronha.
Oh, Luke Smith is sideways coming through the corner as well as Ronha continues to lose places. Luke Smith with a fabulous move on the outside line, but now they go side by side with the fast right hander. They're still neck and neck. Smith has to back out of it and give Ronha the space, and he slots into P5. An absolutely chaotic start, but he's not giving up. He's back down the inside again of Ronha, but Ronha will have the run on the outside to just stay up. Switches back to the inside again. This is a fabulous fight between Luke Smith and Thomas Ronha as they come round to the last 2 corners now. Ronha has a tiny bit more space again to work with here. Smith is still trying to come around his outside. He's found a bit of room there into the last corner. Still side by side again. Onto the power they go. Ronha runs out wide. Heading down towards the first corner again. You can't keep your eyes on it. And down towards the first corner, Luke Smith goes clear. And Ronha has to give up and fall into P6. Absolute chaos and madness on the first lap. And it continues between Jack West and Danny Berezne. And Jack West hangs on for now. But all clean for Otis Lawrence. He saw none of it, and he's clear up in the lead.
Yeah, Ishmael Fassi also trying to get ahead now of Danny Berezne. Jack West managing to hold off and fend off the attack from his Alfa Romeo teammate, and now sits in 8th spot. But how about that battle between Thomas Ronha and Luke Smith? A whole lap long, and the 2 Alpines, both of them moving upwards. 4th place for Dylan Warren on his return to the top tier of PSGL, with Luke Smith also following him in behind as well. Thomas Ronha now sat in 6th, chasing after Luke Smith as they work their way through the Mistral chicane. Otis Lawrence now 6 tenths, nearly 5.5 tenths, in fact, ahead of Barry Burman in first place. Jake Benham in third as well. There's a battle going on between the returning Danny Moreno and Alvaro Caraton. Caraton now up into 18th. I don't think Danny Moreno is even in the car, Jack Canan.
No, he's not. He's having continued issues, unfortunately. It is just trundling around in AI. The unfortunate thing that we did just sort of miss there, Jarno Watmere picking up a 5-second penalty for overtaking on the yellow flag. And the worst thing about that, George, is that's going to be served in the pit lane, which means he cannot get it removed. So this is going to be an uphill drag for Jarno Watmere, and this could lose him second in the championship.
It could do. And I tell you what, points mean prizes, folks. We all know that. And there's a big fight for this championship. Obviously, this is great news for Thomas Ronhart, who's obviously been battling with Otmir all season long. Obviously, we had the fight in Spain, where they would take it all the way down to the final lap of the race. And unfortunately for Jarno, it's another 5 seconds added to his time. And like Jack said, that will be added to his pit stop time. Will Lewis also trying to make his way through as well, trying to fight against the opponent ahead of him, Max Wiesel, as they come through the first sector. There's been a bit of an Alfa or an Aston Martin sandwich here for the Williams, because Donoso hot on his tail, the Chilean, as they now peel through the first sector. And I tell you what, Donoso might be able to carry a little bit of overspeed and tee up an opportunity for an overtake to get into 14th place as they now head down now towards the next chicane. Further back, Joost Noordijk with the DRS opened up as well, trying to get himself into the mixer too. But no changes yet in that order. Thomas Ronhart, though, still stuck in behind the Alpine of Luke Smith. Might choose to open the door, though, into the Signy corner. He'll need to, if he wants to try and move his way forward. Has enlisted a purple second sector to boot, and he's right on the tail of Luke Smith as they peel through the Bousset corner.
Yeah, he'll want to get himself back past again, get a bit of revenge on Luke Smith after getting past him there. The Dylan Warren and Thomas Ronhart, they have history, and there was definitely no love lost between Dylan Warren and Thomas Ronhart earlier on, so I'm sure Ronhart will want to repay the favour at some point in this race, but he's got to get by Luke Smith once again, and he's having a little think about it through the left-hander there, but has to back out of it again. Luke, whenever you have a battle involved in Luke Smith, it is always fabulous to watch between those two. Remember the battle with Jarno Otmir and all the way through Saudi Arabia as well. Fabulous to watch as well. But Otis Lawrence in the lead right now, and this will be a learning experience for him as well. Out front, leading a PSGL PCF1 race, but is still very much in control. He hasn't used as much race. He's still got a full battery to use as well, so he's leading as if he's done it before. Yeah,
I tell you what, he's looking so smart right now. Has managed the gap between him and Barry Burman. It has come down by half a tenth, but I don't think he'll be too concerned about that. It is sort of steadily climbing and steadily receding again, but that's just natural. That is just the standard Delta procedure. Not to mention Barry Burman will have DRS on him, so that time gap has essentially been affected by that DRS opening up for Barry Burman, able to then close down on the Red Bull, obviously reducing the drag into that rear wing. Further back as well, Jake Benham trying to get himself into the mix as well. Just look at this as well. Thomas Ronhart now looking to try and close down on Luke Smith. Heading down now into the next right at turn 10. Inside line for Ronhart. Outside line for Smith. He'll close the door then in towards turn 11, Luke Smith. Brilliant driving there. Brilliant defensive effort from the Alpine. Thomas Ronhart, the Dutchman, can't yet find a way through.
No, you're going to have to try a bit harder to get by Luke Smith there. But again, going side by side through that fast right-hander, it always makes me sort of tense up a little bit, because the tiniest bit of contact will send them flying off through there. But again, just enough space given by Luke Smith on the inside there. So lap 4, 27, beginning lap number 5 of 27, still Otis Lawrence in the lead from Barry Bortman, from Jake Benham, and they'll be thinking about the points already. Ronhart down in 6th at the moment, and again, if they can gain as much points as possible, start closing this gap in the championship, and we'll see a difference. Again, Ronhart will be trying to gain those positions back that he lost on the opening lap. Wilson Hughes chasing him down behind as well. You've got Jack West, Andy Perez and Ishmael Fassi. That rounds out your top 10 at the moment. Donoso, of course, he started in last, up 5 places already, continuing to make big strides. Had a big moment as I went on board with him there, and just managing now to keep in front of Joost Noordijk, but that would have been a bit of a scary moment for him as they carry on down the straight. But I feel like Ronhart might go on the attack again here.
Yeah, he might well do. Also, Barry Burman starting to lunge forward against Otis Lawrence as well. The gap between Otmir and Ishmael Fassi also cascading downwards as they head out to the Mistral chicane on lap 5 of 27. Still a long way to go. You can see the train of cars all tied up together. Thomas Ronhart again flying through turn 10. Right on the rear. This, of course, the scene of the big fight that we saw on the previous lap. Ronhart still unable to make the move as they whip their way through turn 11 at Bousset. And Luke Smith, almost a thorn in the side of Thomas Ronhart right now, Jack.
Yeah, but he's placing the car in all the right places. So again, Ronhart's going to have to get this move done. He's going to have to find a unique way to get past, because Luke Smith is placing that car nicely just to keep Ronhart at bay, and continues to circulate around. But Dylan Warren, I mean, he's having a quiet run, but I will tell you what, he's running really well up in P4 at the moment, sitting in behind Jake Benham in the Mercedes. Barry Borman pressuring the rear of Otis Lawrence in the Red Bull up the front as well. So it's keeping our eye on everything that's going on around the track at the moment. Danny Moreno, of course, I don't think he's managed to get back in. So unfortunately he's circulating down at the back. Not the debut that we wanted to see for Danny Moreno. So let's see how things carry on. But Ronnar getting increasingly frustrated looking at the back of that Alpine, but I think he might be looking at it for a bit longer.
Yeah, I think he will. I mean, if Luke Smith keeps on doing what he's doing, then Ron Hart's going to have to wait certainly significantly longer, and you do have to wonder whether he's got to make a move into the Mistral chicane straight away, which is indeed what he's trying to do. In the inside, backs off it though, decides against the move, and does fake a little bit over to Luke Smith, makes him break a little late into the zone, which will then hamper his exit out to the Mistral chicane. Opportunity for Thomas Ronnar as then they whip through turn 10. He might try it again like he did last time, not quite able to get close enough, or will he try and whip round turn 11 now and open up the door? Oh, they're coming together at the front. Barry Burman ahead of Otis Lawrence, and what about Jake Benham?
Oh, Otis sticking it back up the inside, not having any of it. Barry had to go on the inside. There's contact further down as Will Lewis drops down. But Otis Lawrence and Barry Burman going side by side, and Otis is not having any of it. Takes the lead back again from the Iranian, and he stuck it up the inside through the corner. Ran him out a tiny bit wide, but again, Smith and Ron are still going at it, and he still can't find a way through. He's getting more and more frustrated here as it all starts to sort of concertina up here, but Barry had a go, it didn't work out, but you sort of feel it's getting closer and closer. He wants to lead this race, didn't use any ERS there. Benham as well tried to capitalise through there as well as they went 3 wide, but couldn't quite make it work through that part of the corner as well. But that closes everyone back up again through this first sector. And again, Ronnar had a go in the final corner, but Luke Smith again left him space to work with, but had the grip on the exit to get away from him into the next part of the corner. So DRS open for Barry Burman. Will he have a go into the chicane? He's closing. Otis Lawrence, is this the move? No, he's going to back out and sit behind through the chicane, but you feel it's approaching. He tried it down the inside on the eggs of the fast right. Let's see if he'll do it this time using the ERS. Here comes Burman then to take the lead. Otis Lawrence not going to fight it as they come up to the fast right-hander. Then Barry Burman will slot up the inside, and it'll be the lead for the Ferrari now, unless Otis fancies to go back down the inside, but no, thinks better of it and sits behind. So Barry Burman to the lead of the French Grand Prix.
Yeah, takes the lead here on lap 7 of 27. Yellow flags in sector 1. We have lost Will Lewis, who's decided to retire in the pit lane as well. Thomas Ronnar still not able to get past that of Luke Smith whatsoever, and has had his approaches hampered left, right and centre by certainly Luke Smith there in 5th place, as Dylan Warren holds on to 4th as well. I'm going to say it again, Jack. What a performance from Dylan Warren. 4th place on track.
It's not like he's struggling to stay there, is he? He's keeping pace with Jake Benham up front as well. Hasn't used that much ERS, so do not count out Dylan Warren from this race. Sitting nicely in that train up front, but it's kicked off here. Barry Burman then leading the race for the first time. Otis Lawrence now has a chance to sit behind and follow that Ferrari, but still has an ERS advantage for now. Jake Benham in behind as well. Luke Smith starting to get closer to his Alpine counterpart here in his car there. Ronnar with more ERS though, so if he wants to go for it, he can into the chicane. He has about 30% more than Luke Smith, but also doesn't want to use it all up to get in front of the Englishman here in this race. So Ronnar still frustratingly stuck behind the Alpine of Luke Smith, as he has been since the move was made on lap number 1, using ERS in the exit now to close up, but again is still not quite there to get beside the Alpine there, and he's going to have to sit behind once again for what would appear another lap or so. Again, doesn't want to try and move too early, because well, then he'll leave himself vulnerable to the McLaren.
Yeah, he does, and we're running on board now with Thomas Ronnar and Wilson Hughes. I think he's just biding his time, really, Jack. I think obviously in reference to what you just said, in terms that if he makes the move, it does leave him in a little bit of stuck, because obviously he doesn't want to be sat behind, and he just doesn't want to be sat behind the Alpine, but at the same time does not want to encourage an advance from Wilson Hughes, which could very easily happen, because we know how talented Wilson Hughes can be. As stated prior about his unfortunate luck as Wilson Hughes, as Joost Noordijk sets the fastest lap of the race, it's immediately stolen by Alvaro Caraton on hard tyres, so you can automatically reference that and suggest that we will see faster laps as now we make our way through this race. Lap 9 of 27. Barry Burman still in front though. Otis Lawrence now in second. Jake Benham in third. Dylan Warren holding on to fourth. Luke Smith, who has been the thorn in the side of Thomas Ronhaar, holding on to fifth place, with Ronhaar now down in sixth. Wilson Hughes in seventh. I tell you what, with all the battling going on in this the mid top 10, Jack, this is going to be music to Jarno Opmeer's ears, because at least it reduces the number of points that Thomas Ronhaar can gain in this race.
Yeah, that's the main thing. The unfortunate thing also for Jarno is that Barry's currently leading and Jake Benham is currently third. So this is the problem for him now. Ronhaar looking at like he's going to attack it again. Luke is just using that ERS to stay in front of him and hold him up even more. And the thing is, Wilson Hughes is also has more ERS than Ronhaar, so he can go on the attack. They've almost managed to clear Jack West and get away from DRS here. Wilson Hughes all over.
I'm looking at Wilson Hughes, Jack,
through there, but Wilson Hughes is absolutely keeping these guys honest, and I'm sure he's going to be a little bit frustrated that he's even down here in the first place. He could have been the guy in the lead right now.
He could have been. He could have taken pole. I mean, he was in the. He timed it perfectly in terms of being on the track at the right time, on the right tyres as well. Obviously, when the crossover happened between slicks into wets, or certainly slicks into intermediates. Now we're watching the cars make their way down. Alvaro Caraton leaving the session as well, so that's going to cause him to drop down the field. He's already out of DRS on Liam Parnell, currently sits in 17th place. You do have to wonder whether Wilson Hughes is going to try and close that gap, maybe take the fight to Thomas Ronhaar here on lap 10 of 27. Barry Burman, though, still leads. Otis Lawrence, though, still within that 4/10 of a second gap, Jack. He's not giving up. I tell you what, he's closer to Barry Burman than what Barry Burman was closer to Otis when he was tracking him earlier on. So I get the feeling there's more to come from young Otis Lawrence.
Yeah, he hasn't dropped off the back here. He's just managing and sitting behind. Of course, he has the advantage of the DRS to stay there as well, so he's not letting Barry Burman off that easily. And of course, he has now the opportunity to sort of pit earlier and try and undercut and do something like that to try and maybe take a victory here. But he's in with a good chance at the moment to stay where he is. He's got Jake Benham following behind him as well in the Mercedes. But it's sort of closing up for 10th place here. Jarno getting really close to Ismail Fassi in the Haas right here. And Isfan Pukki, last week's winner, he's in P12 at the moment, trying to get himself back into the points here in his AlphaTauri. He's going to try and stick it up the inside of Opmeer into the left-hander. It has a little go. Not quite enough space to work with there and has to back out of it in the end. So good racing all the way through the field right now. But as we continue, Berezny getting frustrated, stuck behind Jack West. And Ronhaar is still stuck behind Luke Smith.
Yeah, he can't find his way through, Jack, and Jarno Opmeer doing enough to keep last week's winner Istvan Pukki at bay. The problem is for Pukki, though, is that Max Wiesel might fancy his chances as well, considering the fact that he might have lost a little bit of delta after his fight with Jarno Opmeer as they peel through the first sector. Heading down now out of turn 1 and turn 2. Turn 3 and 4 will be up next. One more cars now making their way through the first sector. Second sector opens up as they make their way out of turn 6. There you can see them crossing that point now. Still Barry Burman out in front, still a healthy gap of nearly 6/10. It's now crossed 6/10 now. Jake Benham in third with Dylan Warren in behind those as well. Alpine having a wonderful race, and here comes Thomas Ronhaar, who will certainly open up the door into the Mistral Straight. Closing him off there is Luke Smith as they make their way into the next chicane now. Ronhaar goes deep. Ronhaar very deep there. Luke Smith tries to use the switchback and might get something heading down towards turn 10. They head down now out of that certain sector out of turn 9 through towards sector 3. Thomas Ronhaar in 5th place. Luke Smith, though, looking to loom large. Outside line, opening the door does Thomas Ronhaar. Frustrating the Alpine, but he might slip it on the inside. Luke Smith, he can't. Has to back off. Unfortunately, couldn't make the move, but brilliant driving throughout everybody in this grid.
Yeah, that was a brilliant overtake from Ronhaar. Stuck it at the inside, went deep on the brakes, but of course into that chicane that gives you a little bit of an advantage on the exit, and it got away on the exit as well. Brilliant job from Thomas Ronhaar now, but again he had to use the ERS to stay in front, and now he's got to try and work his way up to the back of Dylan Warren. But that was a brilliant overtake and great racing between Luke Smith. Luke squeezed him, but just enough, gave him enough room and enough respect to get to, again, just allow him to get up his inside there into the chicane, and great racing all the way through from those two. But Ronhaar now up to P5 and closing up to the back of Dylan Warren up in the Alpine at the moment. So beginning to close up now. Luke Smith did everything he could, but now he can follow behind and can try and regain some of that lost ERS. But again, he might be in trouble here because Wilson Hughes, I think, fancies a go past him here, and I think he's going to go for it. Here comes Wilson Hughes then in the McLaren, fancies a go on the Alpine. He's flashing, he'll see that, tries to go to the outside line here, but again, Luke Smith's going to go very deep on the brakes on the exit, and that will compromise his exit on the way through on the chicane. Now he won't have the ERS to defend with here. Wilson will be told he can attack. He'll go to the outside line of the fast right-hander. This is going to be brave stuff from Wilson Hughes, and he gets himself
brilliant
into P6. Well judged, well executed, and Luke Smith just doesn't have the answer without the ERS.
Very smart racecraft there from Wilson Hughes. He obviously waited for the fight to ensue between Luke Smith and Thomas Ronhaar. Knew that Luke Smith was struggling on battery, and then opened the door out to the Mistral chicane, out of turn 9 in towards turn 10, outside line, smooth as you like. The Scotsman now up into 6th place. He'll now chase after Thomas Ronhaar and is already within half a second and pursuing the Dutchman at this point. Could be a chance for Wilson Hughes to turn around what he stated as unfortunate luck that he has had since the start of this season, and he's just enlisted the fastest lap of the race as well.
He's liking this track here at France. We're at lap 13 of 27, so we're at half distance now, and we'll start to see pit stops towards the end of sort of this stint right here. So keep your eyes on that. Barry Borman beginning to sort of open a gap now. 0.6 of a second is the gap at the moment. Otis now just trying to keep himself in there. He has an opportunity to maybe try something different on strategy here if he wants to try and get himself up on the top step of the podium for the first time. But it's Ronhaar P5, Benham P3 and Borman P1. Those are the guys in the championship fight at the moment. Barry tied on points with Jarno at the moment, and this will, of course, now we have a move in the back. I think this is Luke Smith starting to get swallowed up because he doesn't have the ERS to fight with Jack West trying to get by him here. He'll see that Luke Smith is flashing. You see the low ERS battery there as he comes through the fast right-hander. Again, will he have a look on the inside? Again, looking a little bit more. He'll see the space open up on the inside, but it's very tough to get alongside there. But Jack West also having a great race, dragging his teammate Danny Beresne with him, up along with him, and the youngsters are really performing today.
Yeah, you do have to wonder what Alfa Romeo are going to do in terms of pit stops, Jack, because obviously out on the same lap, pretty much in touching distance of each other at the same part of the classification. Already now we're seeing cars come in. Istvan Pukki, now that could trigger. Certainly other drivers looking to do the same now. An early pit stop for Istvan Pukki in the AlphaTauri, because now we're seeing more and more cars whip their way through the first sector. And as you can see, Pukki, all the cars on hard tyres. Pukki the first one to pit onto the mediums. So does that automatically trigger, Jack? Can we expect them all to come in now?
You would think so, but again, Istvan Pukki could be trying something just a little bit different, going slightly earlier than everyone else to try and get an undercut done. Of course, worked for him last week, didn't it?
Did work very well for him
last week.
Does lightning strike twice?
Exactly. So why change a winning formula for Istvan Pukki in this one? So we'll see if that triggers anything up the front. Barry Borman now. Again, just closing the gap slightly, and he has actually got more ERS. He's managed that ERS behind Barry Borman very, very well indeed. So we'll see if any of the top 10 really, I want to say top 10, top 15 are all still at a big train for this lead at the moment. Otis trying to look at the inside there for a moment on Barry Borman as Barry ran a tiny bit wide through the fast right-hander. So maybe could we see, does Otis feel he has more pace? And if he does he come into pit lane now and try an undercut or something along those lines? Comes through the last corner here, but doesn't want to try anything. So again, early stops now, but Dylan Warren is going to peel off here.
Yeah, Dylan Warren coming in early, so that is going to be the first major blows in this race. Istvan Pukki already boxing. Now Dylan Warren coming in and doing the same as well as the cars that make their way down the long straight to commence yet another lap. Thomas Ronhaar now ensuing the fastest lap of the race. So I get the vibe that he's pushing, Jack. This could be the in-lap that we're expecting. The big question is, does Otis Lawrence try a move before making his stop?
Yeah, I reckon we're definitely going to see Ronhaar in on this lap by the looks of it. So we'll keep an eye if we do see him come in on this lap to try and respond to Dylan Warren and Jack West. Keeping an eye, Istvan Pukki's there or thereabouts. He's got closer for sure to Jack West. He'll have the tyre temperature as well. He'll get by the ghosted car of Alvaro Caraton. and a big push lap there from him there, but is Otis Lawrence trying to take the lead back up Borman. He sticks it down the inside, and they're fighting through the chicane, and this will be the opportunity now for guys to get closer up behind, but Otis had a go. Borman left him the room, and he had to give him the space, and he didn't quite get alongside in the way through there, but Borman hangs on for now. Benham hanging back, he's lost DRS there, these guys up the front there, but Otis had a proper go at Barry Borman into the chicane. He has absolutely no fear.
No, he certainly doesn't. A mature racer, folks. Supremely brilliant racecraft. Didn't chance his arm heading through the Mistral chicane. On the inside of the chicane, should I say. Invariably, we tend to see them being made through turn 10, but both cars opting to stay out on this lap. They obviously feel that the hard tyres still have a lot more to offer, which will obviously mean that their medium tyres will be quicker come the end of the race.
Yeah, Ronar's going to box. I think that's the right decision. Those guys have just wasted a little bit of time fighting there. But even with the battling, Barry Borman with the fastest lap of the race on that lap as well. So Ronar boxing then, and it's a double stack at Haas by the looks of it. Fassi's going to get caught here behind Ronar, and just keeping an eye on Wilson Hughes, just slots out in front. Luke Smith got a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane coming through there. That'll affect him, obviously, which is unfortunate, but Ron
Barry had a problem.
See, and it may have looked like, has Barry had a problem? He has. Barry has had an issue. I think he's run wide, and Benham's got through, and Otis Lawrence got through it. He might have run wide through the first sector.
Well, he's severely down. He's nearly a second away from Jake Benham. That is absolutely extraordinary. We missed the moment, not quite sure what happened, but Otis Lawrence now leads here at Paul Ricard. Sensational here on lap 16 of 27. Now surely Otis Lawrence has to push, take advantage of this moment. We've got news from Jonah Martins, of course, McLaren engineer from last season's F1 Esports Championship, states that Barry had the biggest screen freeze ever. So apparently a big screen freeze, Barry, it hampered his, well, certainly what could be his in-lap, we're not quite sure, but it's hampered him nonetheless, and now he's down to third place.
Yeah, and Otis is in. In comes Otis Lawrence now, and Barry's going to follow him in. That is really unfortunate for Barry Borman with the screen freeze, but Jake Benham is going to carry on out front and see what he can do there. This is going to be a response then to Thomas Ronar. Dylan Warren did manage to still come out in front of Ronar with that overcuts, so that did work out for Warren there. And Wilson Hughes coming out behind Ronar as well. Isfan Pookie getting in front of Jack West. So we're keeping an eye on Otis Lawrence, Barry Borman, and keeping an eye on the gap to Ronar. That's what we need to keep our eyes on. Ronar on his way down the straight now. Otis Lawrence on his way out of the pit lane. How much will that battling have cost them? Ronar on his way down towards turn 1. Is he going to get in front of Barry? He is, and that screen freeze as well. He's going to lose out to Wilson Hughes as well. That is super costly for Barry Borman. That's not what he wanted. But I tell you what is really interesting, George. Dylan Warren is now behind Otis Lawrence.
Yeah, the most unlikely net P1 and P2 combination you would ever have seen. But Otis Lawrence showing that he is still tenacious. But what about Dylan Warren as well, who's fighting for what could potentially be a net race lead here in this French Grand Prix at Paul Ricard, here at Le Castellet. The fireworks are kicking off now as going defensive Otis Lawrence. Here comes Dylan Warren now outside line, looking to take the net race lead here at France. Inside line on the outset of the Mistral chicane. They come side by side still. Enter now Thomas Ronar, who looks to try and usurp the pair of them. Coming down towards turn 10. Otis Lawrence, excellence in defence, manages to hold on to the lead. Dylan Warren, he's going to resume the fight now as they make their way through the next right at turn 11. In they come now. Inside line for Warren, outside line for Otis Lawrence. Sensational battling, a dramatic battle. Here comes Thomas Ronar as well. The best three-way scrap you're ever going to see in the world of league racing.
That was phenomenal racing for these youngsters, and somehow Otis hung on, but that is exactly what Jake Benham would want to have seen. These guys scrapping it out behind him. He's come into the pit lane now, on his way down towards the first corner now. Coming out of the pit, he's going to come out behind all these guys, but on fresher tyres, don't forget. So Otis Lawrence then will take the lead. Here comes Benham now. He's going to slot out in front of Barry. Again, he loses more places from that screen freeze. But again, he won't have the tyre temperature, so Barry now on the attack on Benham on the inside. He's going to run out of room.
Whoa.
Surely finds the space on the inside, and Benham sweeps around side by side again. Contact through the middle of the corner. Barry sticks it down the inside. Benham's still there on the outside, but they're losing time to the cars in front again. Boorman is going to run over. Here comes Isfan Pukki out of nowhere. Isfan comes around the outside, but there's no way through for all of them. They're scrapping like hell, and Benham has come out on top in that one just about, but Isfan Pukki might get in front of all of them. They're 3 wide as they come down towards the next corner. Jack West is there too. Pukki goes side by side through the middle of the corner, and somehow he comes out in 8th place.
Yeah, but it's not over yet though. They're all coming together. Jack West now looking to try and find a way through. Further back, Barry Burman fighting back as well. There's a massive 5-car ensemble heading through turn 10 now. Look at this, side by side still. Barry Burman and Jack West nose to tail. 2 Ferrari engine constructors as they peel through turn 11, turn 12 next as well. A switch back from Barry Burman as he looks to defend the inside. Also trying to fight off the advances from Jake Benham, which he can, and Jake Benham as a result stuck behind Jack West. What an onslaught here in lap 18.
Oh, imagine if Yana had got that penalty, he'd be right in the middle of this as well as he comes down the straight. Of course, he had to serve that 5-second penalty on his way down the pit lane. He's going to drop to the tail of this order, but again, that's not what he would have wanted. But Philip Preshdader is out in the lead right now on 18 lap all the hards, but it is Otis Lawrence now, net race leader. Dylan Warren, net P2. Thomas Ronnar in 3rd. Wilson Hughes is P4 then in this race, but though that battle has given a 2.5-second gap to the leaders from Isfan Pukki, Barry Boorman, Jack West, Jake Benham, who's still fighting with Luke Smith. They're continuing to fight on in the mid-pack here, and Jake now slots in front, but Luke again will have the switch back with the DRS as well on the way down the straight with his Alpine car stuck to the inside line. On the inside, has he got it stopped this time on the inside line? Benham still trying to stay in, and somehow he does stay in and stays in P9. Luke has the penalty as well, of course, and Berezne fancies a bit as well.
Yeah, they certainly do, but Thomas Ronhar also trying to take Dylan Warren here for a podium place. Dylan Warren still holding on to 3rd on track. Philip Presley still yet to box. Oh, Thomas Ronhar, absolutely sensational. Dylan Warren getting bent out of shape, heading out of turn 12 into turn 13. Thomas Ronhar now up into net P2, but here comes Dylan Warren. Oh, he's given the position. He's given the position. Fair enough. Brilliant show of classmanship there. Brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he felt it was a little bit over the line and let Dylan Warren back through once again with an apologetic move out of the way. But even if he obviously felt it was over the line, but he again will have to go again. Maybe he can find another bit. Barry Boorman getting in front of Isfan Pukki, then P5. He sits right now. Jake Benham down to P8 in this fight, but again, there's only 8 laps to go. Otis Lawrence still in the lead.
Yeah, no, he is. Otis Lawrence now obviously being helped as well, Jack. If you consider the fact that Dylan Warren and Thomas Ronhar have been squabbling all this time, that's only providing more of an opportunity for Otis Lawrence to enlarge in his gap, which has now very nearly broken DRS. We could be calling Otis Lawrence's very first race win here in PSGL F1 in the PC Championship. Not only that, after his very first pole position as well. This could be a dream race, a dream night for Otis Lawrence.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, Ronhar will have his championship head on right now because, again, out of all of this, despite everything, he's if he finishes the way it is, he's going to extend his lead again in the championship because Barry is behind him, Jake is behind him, and Jano's behind him. So this is exactly what he wants, but again, he'll want to take this. He'll want to take a win here as Jake Benham again fighting through and moves up to P7. So again, trying to minimise the time loss here as Jack West ran out wide there, but there's going to be 7 laps to go. Otis Lawrence is out in the lead. Dylan Warren is in P2 and trying to fend off Thomas Ronhar right here. This is going to be a mammoth task for these guys up front. Wilson Hughes is watching and waiting in the wings for something to happen, but Barry Boorman stuck in P5 in kind of no man's land at the moment. It's going to be a bit of a task for him to try to get up to the rear of the guys in front. But again, anything can happen. We could still see a safety car. If a safety car gets thrown here, this will really throw it in the mix. Yeah, absolutely right indeed. Thomas Ronhar currently sat in 3rd, Dylan Warren in 2nd. Otis Lawrence still in front and very nearly 0.8 of a second. In fact, he has broken 0.8 now, working hard to try and breach the DRS gap. Ronhar running slightly wide
heading through that next part of the circuit, heading into Sector 2. So you do have to wonder whether he is struggling slightly. Obviously trying to push harder and harder to try and usurp Dylan Warren. I think this says a lot about Dylan Warren's performance. I think in this race he has been absolutely sublime. This could be the best race we have seen Dylan Warren perform. This could be his best performance of his life here. As you said, Jack, unwell and yet still able to extract a performance like this. Almost Jana Watmier-esque that we saw at the USA as well. As we know, seeing Danny Berejne and Jack West come together. Berejne getting ahead of his teammate, and now further up into the top 10 as well. More and more cars fighting, squabbling in behind as well. Jack West almost being closed up on by Luke Smith, but we can see quite a few penalties have been dished out. Berejne getting 5 seconds, 3 seconds going the way of Jack West. Luke Smith getting 5. Joost Noordijk getting 3 as well. Philip Prejade getting 3. Obviously, all of them subject to investigation by the stewards later on, should there be any unfair warnings. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see whether they do get removed. But of course, Thomas Ronhaar now still remains in third. Otis Lawrence untouched at the top since he began his second stint here on the brand new medium tyres, and now is 5 laps away from making history as his very first PSGL PCF1 win.
Could we get back-to-back debut winners? This would be insane.
We could.
If we could. Got his Fabruki last week.
Be the most competitive season in the history of PSGL PC, Jack.
Absolutely, it has. Certainly, we've had the most amount of winners. Here comes Ronhaar now, the second attack on Dylan Warren. It didn't work the first time. Will it work the second time? It's the outside line for Ronhaar this time. He's been super on the brakes all evening. Warren runs him out of road though on the inside, and he'll have to go again on the outside. But again, not much traction there for Dylan Warren on the exit. More ERS for Ronhaar this time. Gets squeezed to the inside.
Incredible!
Road, banging tyres all the way through. They're again fighting, banging wheels to the fast right-hander. Warren is not giving him a single inch, and he's got a penalty for getting run out of road on the inside, but he fights his way through. Aggressive defending from Dylan Warren, and I'm sure that's going to be looked at by the stewards.
Goodness me, Dylan Warren, I have to tell you folks, what a moment heading in towards turn 10. Both drivers managing to keep it on the track, but nonetheless it got so tight, so aggressive between them. Ronhaar, though, managing to come out of it in P2, albeit, though, 3 seconds of time penalties added to his name. But Dylan Warren, he knows what he's fighting for. He knows what's on the table. He wants a podium. He wanted P2. Podium's still on the table, though, but he has to fight off and fend off the approaches from young Wilson Hughes, who is a very, very incredible competitor. A former PSGL champion on the PlayStation platform. Who can forget the incredible championship finale where he took Duncan Offland all the way and managed to claim that championship the same year the PC Championship was born here at PSGL back in season 27. Iconic, folks, iconic. You get to see champions from all walks of life here in this very division, and that's what makes this league special.
Yeah, Ronhaar has an uphill battle now because Otis is clear of DRS. So this is going to help him even more to try and get away, and I'm sure he's going to be very nervous up front. But again, a seasoned competitor, but is there a win in the bag for him now? But you have to say, if you didn't know that the history between Ronhaar and Warren coming together on the track right there, and you can see it born out in the battle right there. Wilson Hughes, he's got the most DRS of the guys out in front of him at the moment, and Boorman, because of that battling, is dragging himself closer and closer and closer in his Ferrari. There's not long left to go. Otis Lawrence 1.2 seconds in front of Thomas Ronhaar, is clear of DRS, and again is just managing that gap right now. Lap 24 of 27, not long to go for him now. He just needs to keep it between the white lines.
Well, this is Dylan Warren's best chance, really, because he knows that Ronhaar does not have DRS on Otis Lawrence. So and I could see him charging his ERS as we speak. So my guess is, Jack, he's going to take the next couple of laps, charge the ERS, and then take the fight to Thomas Ronhaar at the end of this race.
I think he is, and well, I think Wilson Hughes is teeing up the both of them at the moment. He's got 50% DRS. Dylan Warren has got about 10, so he can go on the attack here. So it could be a potential P2 on the cards for Wilson Hughes to get himself back on the podium. He got a podium in the first round, but hasn't had a return to it since that point. But this is sensational. No, well, that won't get removed. Thomas Ronhaar with another penalty. That will not get removed. So that if that is a pure cut-track penalty, that is a second penalty on the cards for Thomas Ronnar, unless he has got a double warning or something. But for now, that will not get removed. So that is exactly what Barry and what Jake want to see. And we've seen this before, George. Again, it happened in Australia. It's happened before. He's pushing hard and pushes the limits too much and goes over the white line, gets himself a penalty.
It's been vastly the story of his season. We spoke about it at Australia, as you alluded to, Jack. It's not the first time it's happened as well. Remember Abu Dhabi at the start of the season? Of course, he had a penalty there, penalty at Australia as well. And now, once again, it comes back to haunt him here at Paul Ricard too. Dylan Warren now in third place, looking to close the gap, but knows that he'll just secure P2 by default when he crosses the line. You can see the rear end just flashing on the back of the Alpine. He wants to conserve that ERS just to defend it. Obviously, Wilson Hughes is still a threat in behind as well, so plenty of opportunities here. But the good news is going by the way of Otis Lawrence, who currently holds on to P1, 1.2 seconds in front, and Thomas Ronnar with 6 seconds. Lawrence has one hand on the race win here already.
Absolutely, and to tell you what, Barry Boorman is a man on a mission at the moment. It has had little to no ERS, but has kept going and has dragged himself back into DRS of Wilson Hughes in front. So still an opportunity, and he will want to get himself as close as possible to Ronnar so that he again gets himself in front and closes the gap in the championship. That's the big thing that he needs to do here. He's second. He will be second in the championship. He's currently second in the championship, joint second, and this will be an opportunity for him to close the gap to Thomas Ronnar at the front. But again, it's all still to play for. There's going to be 2 laps to go when we cross the line. We're 2 laps away from an absolutely sensational performance from a young man who's only moved to PC and is stating his claim.
Certainly is stating his claim, looking very strong as well. 1.5 seconds between Lawrence and Ronnar as well. Massive thank you to every single one of you. 2,500 viewers watching live here at this moment in time for the PSGL French Grand Prix. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you smash a like. Also, leave a subscribe as well to the PSGL channel. Of course, it's been a pleasure being your commentators this evening. The racing has been brilliant, to say the least. Dylan Warren now currently sat in third here on track, but knows that P2 is up for grabs. Jarno Opmeer taking the fastest lap of the race so far, despite though being sat in P16, and Prejnader's retired in the pit lane. Philip Prejnader out of the race as we now commence lap 26 of 27.
Absolutely, yeah. By the looks of it, from what I can see here on the race director, it looks like Ronnar picked up 2 warnings on 1 lap. So that, I think that may have to be reviewed. If he got it in the same corner, then obviously that will get removed, but we'll have to keep our eyes on that. Is Dylan Warren. This is going to get spicy. He's coming back at him on the inside, and Dylan Warren goes back through on Thomas Ronnar, and again they go side by side on the exit, and that's going to give Otis Lawrence even more space. But now Wilson Hughes fancies his chances. This could be the move to seal P2. Wilson Hughes up the inside, double overtake on the inside of the first right-hander. Wilson Hughes has pulled off a sensational move on the 2 cars in front of him, and Ronnar now is still fighting with Warren. He's going to try to get by Wilson Hughes, but Wilson Hughes again leaves him space on the inside. Ronnar back up the inside, leaves Hughes the space on the outside to work with, but he has the room, he has the space. That is an incredible move from the Scotsman.
Move of the race there from Wilson Hughes as now he finishes his penultimate lap here at this point. Oh, Dylan Warren with an almighty send through the final corner. They wreck the DRS boards. Side by side now between Ronnar and Dylan Warren as they head down through towards turn 1. Wilson Hughes, after that gargantuan effort, in towards turn 10. Side by side between the Alpine and the Haas. Dylan Warren fighting back. 3-second time penalty going to Dylan Warren as well. So that could put P3 in jeopardy. Enter Barry Burman as well. This race is unhinged, off the chain. Through goes Jake Benham as well, the all-star, with an all-star move on Barry Burman as well. Dylan Warren making his way through, back on track in P3. Ronnar not giving up though, Jack Canan.
No, but Barry will want to sit behind here because this is his chance to gain points. Here he comes on the both of them. Gets by Dylan Warren. Will he get by Ronnar at the same time? They came to blows last week. Ronnar leaves him the space on the inside, and Barry doesn't go for it. Knows he doesn't need to, but he'll still want to get by the man in front of him. But again, the 2 up front have cleared them clearly. Beresnay's come from nowhere. He's on the attack as well as to go up towards the fast right-hander. Benham's in there too on the inside of Warren. This, you cannot take your eyes off this for a moment. Beresnay's looking in the inside as well as they come through. Smith is round. Beresney's going for the move on the two of them on the inside in the Alfa Romeo. We'll have to cut away for just a moment in a second as they come through the fast left-hander. Ronar leaves the space on the inside, but we'll come back to that in a moment because there is a young sensation about to do it for the first time, heading up towards the line for the final time. Otis Lawrence wins the French Grand Prix. He's a PSGL winner. Wilson Hughes crossed the line in P2. Danny Beresney for the moment takes a podium, but Jake Benham will seal a podium in P3. Barry Bourmand is fourth. Istvan Pukki P5, and Donoso from the back of the grid gets himself to P6. Otis Lawrence is a winner in PSGL, and I think nobody will be displeased with that. What a performance!
What a sensational performance! Otis Lawrence is a PSGL race winner. Brilliant win, brilliant style as well. He took it after the second stint, managed to hold on as well, lead up until the final lap, 1.5 seconds in front, broke the DRS. That's exactly what class is, folks. Class at a young age as well. Where's this man going to be in 2 years' time? We'll have to find out, certainly to say the least. A long way to go, but that's not a bad place to start for young Otis Lawrence. He will take the victory here at Paul Ricard, at Le Castellet, the French Grand Prix as well, and certainly many of the fans of his as well. I'm sure he is jubilant. History has been made. One of the youngest winners of all time here in PSGL, the PC Championship. I think he might go down in history as the youngest winner of all time in this championship, and so rightly deserved as well. An incredible performance, and what a performance as well from Wilson Hughes, just so patient, and he delivered right when he needed it most. Not to mention Jake Benham, who fought right to the very end. Third place going to him too. Of course, we will see if we can get the results as well, folks. But Jack Canaan, what a story.
What a story. That was incredible. We had Spa last week with a debut winner, and we have another one in the form of Otis Lawrence. And I think that was inevitable. That win from pole to the win. Wilson Hughes in second. Jake Benham from seemingly nowhere coming back to a podium in front of Barry Bourmand. That's an important one for him. And again, Istvan Pukki, P5. He's come from absolutely nowhere again to seal P5. But I have to say, epic from Donoso. Last up to P6. It's not quite Cameron Dowds, but it's P6 nonetheless. Ishmael Fassi, Max Vissel from 16th, and Liam Parnell from 18th, provisionally taking a single point as well. But I think the stewards are going to be a bit busy after that one. Yeah,
I do not really relish being Louis Dupont at all. I'll let him keep his job. Otis Lawrence, though, confirmed as your race winner, folks. Wilson Hughes in second, Jake Benham third, Barry Bourmand fourth, Istvan Pukki, another great result, fifth. Fabrizio Donoso, top six as well, so sixth place to him. Ishmael Fassi seventh, Max Vissel eighth, Dylan Warren in ninth, Liam Parnell 10th as well. Danny Beresney, incredible finale for him. He came out of nowhere, 11th. Jack West 12th, Jana Watmere 13th, Thomas Ronhaar 14th, Joost Noordijk 15th, Luke Smith 16th. We lost Caraton, Danny Moreno, Philip Presnay, and Will Lewis. Of course, that is your order, folks. But wow! Wow! What a race. I know we say this time and time again, Jack, but we thought Spa was great, but I think that's for different reasons. I think in terms of pure racing, that was just brilliant.
Oh, I think I need a break. I think I'm done. I think I'm done for a bit. Yeah, that was crazy. Again, continue it every single week. This championship just continues to give us crazy races. I'm just at the moment just trying to have a look to see how the championship situation is going to be. Obviously, it's not going to stay this way because we had so many incidents, let's say, throughout that race. So there will be plenty around the bit. But of course, for the provisionally no score for Ronar, we had Jake in P3, which gave him 10 points. And we also had Barry taking provisional P4, which would be 8 points for him. So the gap, I think, is going to come down to roughly about 19 points, I think, roughly, off the top of my head.
Goodness me, I tell you what, it's closing up by the moment, folks. still got a long way to go as well, really. A lot of races to come, and I tell you what, the championship will continue to carry over. I mean, obviously, there's likely to be a case that Ron Haar's penalties will be looked at, but folks, we'll put that on the back burner because we have got a plethora of drivers that we need to speak to, of course, and including that of young Otis Lawrence. And I tell you what, Otis, congratulations. You are a race winner, and I believe the youngest race winner of PSGL PCF1 of all time as well. You must be absolutely thrilled.
Oh man, I'm so happy right now. I've lost my voice. A bit like France and WR last week. And
oh, is he still there? We lost him. You still there, Otis? Oh, there he is. Sorry, Otis, we lost you there. You cut out briefly. Can you start again for us?
Yeah, I can't remember the question now. What was the question?
Well, I mean, we're just saying you're a PSGL F1 PC race winner and the youngest, we believe, PSGL F1 PC race winner as well. So talk us through it. You must be thrilled.
Yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing. I've lost my voice like WR last week. Yeah, hopefully this momentum can continue to more race wins. And yeah, I'm literally shaking right now. Oh, Jesus Christ, it's insane. It's insane.
Well, I mean, just talk us through your race. I think obviously you were very patient towards the end. You were priming up, obviously, the use of the ERS. I saw you charging it up towards the end. Obviously, you obviously understood that there might be a fight towards the end with Barry Burman nonetheless, but he made a mistake, didn't he? A crucial error towards the end of the race, heading into the second stint as well, which gave you the perfect opportunity to break clear and then enlarge the gap, and then it was just a question of you breaking the DRS, which you did.
Yeah, Dylan Warren definitely helped quite a bit with defending Thomas, because Thomas was really fast. Yeah, got a bit lucky with Barry, but you gotta have luck sometimes. And yeah, I'm so happy right now. You don't understand how happy I am, bro. Oh my God.
I'm sure you're thrilled. And you're only a young man as well, 14 years of age. Obviously, we saw you sensational at Spain as well, where you fought off the approach from Nicolas Longuet. We all thought that was absolutely extraordinary. You were my driver of the day that day, and I believe Jack Canan's as well. Coming off the back of tonight now, a first win. Obviously, that opens doors for more. What's the future plan? What are you hoping to achieve now, heading through the rest of this season?
Hopefully more race wins. I don't think the championship's fully on because I didn't really join at the start of the season. But yeah, just going to try and do as best I can for the rest of the season and just try and continue to oppress people.
Well, I tell you what, keep it up, and I'm sure it won't be the last. So congratulations, Otis, and I'm sure we'll see you again here very, very soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, we'll speak to Wilson Hughes. Of course, he managed to claim a podium, and in great style as well. Wilson, the bad luck is over.
Yeah, well, it seems that way. Qualifying, I bottled pole position twice, and I was really, really angry with myself. So I finally got the fortune I needed, to be honest. It wasn't a very neutral race. I got quite a fair amount of luck. I also did do a lot of my own back with undercut. I think I undercut Jake, Barry. I overtook Luke Smith, so that was already 3 positions. Overtook 2 people to start. So we did gain 4 positions on our own back, but the fighting at the front definitely helped, and it was fun to make some moves.
Yeah, no, I tell you what, it was brilliant. I mean, we were hailing your decision making in qualifying in Q3 because if you managed to extract that lap in that session, I would have no doubt placed you at the top end. You probably would have done what Otis did as well. In fact, you would have had probably the better surface, even better than Otis had it. So you must have really been kicking yourself after that.
Yeah, it was. It kind of just added to my season after that. I didn't realise how much the track was going to ramp up. I had Will Lewis engineering me as he was knocked out, and he just said, just get the lap in. But I didn't quite realise how quick the track would ramp up and how quick those inters would fall off. So, yeah, my mistake. Can't really blame anyone else for that, but we rectified it in the race. Yeah,
I mean, you did it where it counted, fighting your way through the field, and you. It almost seemed like a patient race for you, obviously waiting for the likes of Ron Haar and also the likes of Dylan Warren to keep scrapping, and then, of course, it led to the big climax towards the end, where, of course, you were all dogfighting for the top 3. Was it just a case of being patient? Certainly at Paul Ricard, there are various opportunities for opening the door and making moves, aren't there?
Yeah, well, throughout the season, I feel like I've been too patient, so I was trying to balance it to an extent. I got Luke Smith on track, which was quite nice. And then obviously I got Thomas and Dylan through the long right-hander, which felt quite nice, going 3 wide there. But yeah, it was a lot of a patient game and waiting, but I feel like me 6 months ago wouldn't have went for some of those moves. So yeah, it's nice to have a little bit of aggression, but it was definitely one of those races where you had to think and you had to be careful in what you done.
So the evolution of Wilson Hughes is on then, by the sounds of it.
Yes, it's definitely not done. The new Wilson Hughes will come in 23.
Oh, I look forward to it, mate. Honestly, congratulations on a podium, and I am sure this will be a sign of even greater things to come as well.
Thanks very much, George.
Well done, Wilson. Well done. Next up, we'll have Will Lewis as well, seeing as we did have him mentioned as well due to the engineering. Obviously, I want to talk to Will as well about his DNF. Just want to find out a little bit more about what happened to him. He's currently muted at this point, so not sure whether we will get to speak to him or not. Oh, no, he's unmuted now. Will Lewis, welcome to the commentary box. Obviously, an interesting race from your standpoint. You were pretty much in the sharp end, but obviously working with Wilson Hughes, obviously you even suggested that you gave him the insight to head out on a lap straight away, and fair enough, your advice might well have paid off had he managed to pull it together.
Yeah, I mean, my race was never exactly going to plan, so I thought we'll give Wilson a little bit of help throughout the race, just sort of managing ERS levels. Obviously, if the inters came off, he could have got pole, but to be honest with you, it's just one of them things that France is so difficult to get the lap in. I think with 5 or 6 minutes to go in qualifying, we still only had 3 laps on the board. So it could have gone either way, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, my race sort of ended in tears, went for a move I probably shouldn't have, and ended up backwards. So not obviously the way I want to end up in the commentary box, but yeah, I mean, Wilson drove a great race, so fair, well done to him.
You did, and obviously yourself as well. Obviously, you're still figuring things out. Obviously, new team for yourself, being part of Williams Esports. Obviously, Brett Kosh holds you in high esteem. You've been working hard, moving your way up. F2 as well. Obviously, your successes there has been sensational, and now you're on the rise up now through towards F1. Obviously, there's still plenty of opportunities on the board. There's still a chance for you to certainly unleash the best of Will Lewis, shall we say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just comes down to doing the laps in the session, which recently I've just struggled with. I mean, I feel like the pace has been there in practice. So, I mean, I know I can string a championship together looking at the F2 standings and who I've beat. So it's just a case of me getting it together in the session and just keeping myself out of trouble in the races.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like we've certainly got some things to come from yourself. We've seen you battling with certainly the best of them. Have you got any end goals, any plans for the rest of the season? Is there anything that you've sort of laid down a foundation for where you want to improve?
Yeah, I think overall just sort of sorting out my quality. I feel like my race management a lot of the time is sort of already at a point where it's quite solid. So just probably consistent point finishes can just be the aim so far. I mean, we need to get that down, and then anything on top of there, this game is a bonus.
It's always good to have a plan, Will. You've always got the dog in you. Well done, mate. Congratulations on, not finishing the race, but, on a tremendous qualifying performance nonetheless, and, trying your best anyway nonetheless, and helping out Wilson Hughes. I'm sure we'll see you back again fighting at the sharp end very, very soon.
Yeah, I hope so. Thanks, George.
Cheers, Will. Thank you very much. Fabrizio Donoso is also joining us in the commentary box as well. Fabs, it's great to have you back. You look good in green.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a while since I haven't joined the commentary box at the end of one race, so happy to be here.
It's never the same without you, Fabs. It has to be said. But just talk us through it. Obviously, it's a very nice time, I suppose, to be at Aston Martin right now. I mean, were you cheering and shouting for Fernando Alonso last weekend as well?
Oh, I was. Yeah, I think it all comes together. It's been a very enjoyable few last weeks. I've retaken love with the game, so the pace is back, which is always good to see. I had unfortunately a quali ban for this one, which I almost forgot, as I went P2 in the first
the lap was good
session.
Though. The lap was good.
Yeah, again, showing that we have the pace in quali.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have loved to not have the ban here because the pace was actually really, really good. Had a good start in the race. Made a few positions. Went long because I had the extra pace over the guys ahead. Same for the ERS. I think there was one lap we pitted with Jarno, I caught like 7-8 tenths to him, so the pace was actually really, really good. And yeah, top 6 at the end. Would have liked a bit more because it's actually hard to overtake in this track. But nonetheless, the pace is showing very, very to be really great lately.
Yeah, it certainly has. I mean, obviously you've been on the F1 esports scene for such a long time, and we've seen obviously your moves to different teams and things of that nature. But I alluded to it a couple of races ago, when of course we went to Spain, and you were on fire in terms of quali pace when we went racing there, and obviously you were up at the sharp end as well throughout the race. Obviously, a little bit of misfortune, some technical trouble got in the way on that occasion, but you must be feeling a lot better. Obviously, it seems like there's been a transition. You know, you've gone from one space, you're in a new space now. Aston Martin seems to have brought you a newfound, should we say, motivation or a new desire to perform on this game?
I think definitely it's the case. Not necessarily this game, but overall, you know, I want to, just in general, want to do much more than what I was doing last year, and the team is motivating me to do that. The environment as well. So I'm in a very good place. With Aston, and I think it's showing on track with the results I've had both in quali and race lately, that it's all clicking slowly but surely.
It certainly is, and I'm sure we'll see much more of it, and I hope we do as well, because I still remember fondly 2017, the grand final of F1 esports. I always hark back to it because it was iconic, and it'll always be iconic. But congratulations, Fabrizio, big points here today, and I'm sure we'll see you back at the sharp end very soon as well.
Thank you, George. See you soon.
Thank you, Fabs. Take it easy, mate. Take it easy. Next up, we have Thomas Ronhaar, in fact, a man who is very much involved in what was going on track here today. Obviously, Dylan Warren and Thomas had a massive fight. Obviously, Luke Smith as well at the very start of the race. Thomas didn't quite go to plan. Obviously, penalties got in the way. I'm sure the stewards will be very busy looking over those. But just talk us through your race.
Yeah, to be honest, this race wasn't one I was witnessing, but, or what's it called? Wasn't one that I enjoyed a lot, but nevertheless I hope didn't enjoy the battling with me. I didn't enjoy it at all. I got like 5 warnings that were underserved, maybe even 6, so I might get all the penalties removed, but yeah, I think that's been the case for many races now, where people decide to not be a great person on track, and it's just very disappointing from a few guys that they kept doing it. I'm just here to enjoy my racing, enjoy league racing, and giving content to the guys. But I guess people don't want that from myself.
Okay. I mean, obviously, it's been a difficult time for yourself over the last few races, well, since the season started, or should we say the game cycle hasn't been, should we say, ideal for many ways. Can you elaborate on that at all?
Sorry, Pilas, I didn't hear.
Can you elaborate on the difficulties over the past year with the game cycle?
Yeah, I mean, in general, you're always gonna get accusations with, you know, being a rookie, and I accept that, you know. But when it comes to on-track battling, I think people need to be more aware of what's going on. I did have some great battles on track with Luke. Yeah. In general, I'm just not happy with how the race went. Quali though was very good for my side, showing the pace I have in quali as always. Very strong, but yeah, I think the race wasn't too great.
Well, I mean, qualifying, like you said, was very strong. Obviously, the changeable conditions that we saw in Q3 obviously made a lot of, certainly defined a great P1 in quali for Otis Lawrence. I mean, looking forward now, where do you see yourself going in terms of the championship? Obviously, still a long way to go. Plenty more races in the bag, and then of course we've got the future F1 esports to consider. Where do you see the direction going for Thomas Ronhaar?
I'm always going for number 1 spot. Obviously, trying to get as many wins as possible and being at the top every race. That's obviously what I'm gonna try and do every single race. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. Obviously, still a long way to go in the championship. I think we're only halfway through, so still plenty of opportunities left for other guys and even myself to take. And yeah, we'll have to wait and see who's gonna grab it the most.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see indeed. Well, good effort today, and I should say thank you for the action, because we had lots of it. We'll see you next. We'll see you next time for some more, Thomas.
Thank you, George.
Thank you, Thomas. Well, there we have it. Obviously, interviews here delivered, and I got to say some interesting words there. Obviously, from Thomas Ronhar. Obviously, the complexion is that things are a little difficult as far as he's concerned right now, and obviously we witnessed a sensational young driver performance from Otis Lawrence. I mean, I think my facts are right, Jack. Youngest PCF1 winner of all time, yeah?
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah, I think off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone who was 14 and won at this level.
So I think Alex O'Grady we were putting in the mix for that, and he was 13 at the time, I think, when he raced in season 27.
13, yes,
yeah.
But he didn't quite get up to the high end,
the heights.
the top end.
Yeah, not quite the heights that we've seen from Otis Lawrence. But I mean, if you're a young man like Otis Lawrence and you're winning a race in PCF1, surely that gives you the drive and the determination, and also the knowledge that you can do this.
In your debut season as well.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
it's frightening,
which
isn't it?
Which is also incredible. So keep your eyes peeled. And the thing is, what's also going to be amazing is that he's got another 2 years of development before he can even get into Challengers or F1 Esports at that level. So he's got 2 more years.
You've got to wonder what could be, can't you? I mean, obviously, just off the back of that, just what could happen with a young man like Otis Lawrence. So much potential. And I don't think, truthfully, he's unlocked all of it yet.
No, I think he's got so much more to work on. I think, and it's just going to be amazing to see how he develops over the next 2 years or so until we eventually see him on the grid, because I mean every team is going to want to snap him up already. Into
absolutely.
a development program. So it is definitely one to watch. Initial championship calculations are that we have Ronar still on the top on 66. Now remember, of course, there's probably going to be a lot of stewards inquiries, keep that in mind. 66 for Ronar. We have Barry in P2 on 51, so the gap has reduced to 15 points. It's now under a race win, so that's it back in the fight now. Barry Borman on 51, and Jake Benham has brought himself back into it now, and he's on 50, 1 point behind Barry. So this is getting interesting now. We're on round 8, a couple more still to go over the halfway point. So under a race win between Barry and Ronar going into these last few rounds.
Yeah, absolutely right. So I tell you what, folks, it's who's who at the moment. We still don't know. And obviously we still won't know until the results have been adjudicated. Obviously they've got to go through the stewards scenario, and there's lots of incidents, I can assure you, that they've got to look at. So won't have a clear picture for you just yet as to where the championship's going. But first of all, I tell you, one thing we do have a clear picture on is you guys at home. Thank you all so much for your dedicated support to PSGL as of late. It's been absolutely thrilling to bring you all the action as well. A pleasure to be in this comm box, as always, as I have done since season 27. A long time, obviously alongside my co-conspirator, Jack Canan, as well. And hopefully we'll get to see more racing in the future too. If you want to check out PSGL, you can, of course, on Twitter, Instagram, as well as TikTok at PremierSimGL. You can also leave a like and also subscribe to the PSGL channel as well to stay up to date when we go racing, and you can find out when the new streams go live. Obviously, lots of streams coming here at PSGL across both PlayStation and PC, and even Gran Turismo as well. Also, make sure you stay up to date with the highlight reels that will be released later in the week as well. We've got a phenomenal group of people who work on those, folks, so make sure you check those out midweek too. If you want to check me out as well, my name is, of course, George Morgan. I am your commentator. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at George Morgan TV. Also Facebook as well. The same Addy as well if you want to use it. Jack Canan, share your Addy if you please.
Absolutely. So if you want to get me on Instagram, it is Jack_Canan. If you want to get me on Twitter, it's at JackCComs. 2 C's, folks. I say it every week.
2 C's. 2 C's.
I will say, if you see any questionable tweets over the weekend, it was George.
It wasn't me. Yes. For those of you who don't know, me and Jack Canan are going to F1 Arcade at the end of this week. So if you happen to be around, you can find us there on Saturday night. So if you want to come and join us and say hi, you're more than welcome. We will be there. But folks, it's been a privilege to bring you the action tonight. We witnessed a phenomenal race. We crowned the youngest ever PC F1 PSGL race winner. That, of course, being Otis Lawrence. The question is, where can he go from here? We'll find out next time when we go racing at Premier Sim Gaming Leagues. We'll see you then. Take care. Goodbye.
This broadcast was brought to you by GT Omega, proudly supporting PSGL.